Welcome, 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 welcome to a Friday special edition, marching towards the mountain, my second home, Mount Royal. For my allies and armies, pledge your allegiance, legions to our family, for the empire. God bless our coming empire. God as GODDSS, kiss. Freestyle mode, rock and roll, raw and edited. Androgynous, aspie, artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theorist, theorist, and strategist, and thinker, and mystic. Many past lives, many reincarnation, whence I was born a woman, sometimes a man, a woman, a man, a woman, a man, a woman. You get that 50-50 now, Adrian Hanna, Dragon Reborn. During this COVID, died, nothing that I will to go back to. And gotta salute the farmers, firefighters, truckers on the road now. The truckers on the road, the plumbers, the electricians, those daycare workers who change some diapers. As we're going towards the King, the Pope, my son, and there's gonna be 4 more days from now. Saturday, tomorrow's full moon, and full moon commences, feast holiday commences tomorrow. So that means until the heat wave ends, so there's gonna be a full moon heat wave on that month of Leo. Perfect. For me, for yours truly. Got that line in Canada tatted up. Always for the North American Collective, always Dragon versus Trump since 2018. Have been able to continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border in that red backpack. Got those RED, red, my favorite color. Red. The gloves by which I have been able to continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match on the Canadian-US border. As I'm going towards the sun, SUN. Always for the firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, the bakers, the nurses, the daycare workers. Those, the youth. Look at us, love it. Love it. A beautiful sun made on the concrete, so we're gonna have the sun, my Pope, the King, the Sun, and I guess you got enough of my face. Always for the firefighters, gotta put these steps in for the firefighters of the North American Collective. Beautiful flowers of the 10, the 50, and the 3. Beautiful yellow flowers there. You know I got a thing for yellows, but those ones with the bright colors, always gotta get a little bit of that. Loving, I gotta turn my head left and right, because sometimes the brakes malfunction, the electricity of the brakes, and that's why you gotta turn your heads left or right, because the citizen driver might press the accelerator instead of the brake, and that must be something which we gotta take into account. Since I'm in the public, I got added responsibilities, duties, and obligations. We got both rights and duties and obligations parallel in the public. It's always a public-private partnership. It's always my individual sovereign liberty, security with yours and the individual of the collective. Beautiful flower pot there. Tough times, stressful times, more negative news. Of course, you know that what I do on a daily basis is hours and hours of geopolitical strategies, analysis, theorizing, and I'm a geopolitical thinker, strategist, analyst, and theorist, and I take great pride in my work. And of course I gotta say that I predicted what's happening now back in 2019. Yeah, what a beautiful flowers there. Just gotta love those flowers, and that's what it is, and that's what we gotta get doing. And sometimes we just gotta commence our fitness journeys. I always say my fitness journey commences today, as yours can, of course, and that's what it is. And the commencing, of course, of our fitness journey together now, as it can do, and something which we have to get doing on that, and we gotta get it on that road, and that's why we have to get safe and prudent, and that's what we gotta get doing on that, you know, because it's always rock and roll, fitness, exercising, it's always sports and fitness with yours truly, it's always dancing, it's always philosophizing, it's always, of course, being on the prudent side too, for myself and for the others. Because imagine that the brake malfunctions, and you press the accelerator, like this fellow citizen here presses the accelerator and turns instead of the brake, or from that way or either way. Then, you know, we try to avoid, we try to work together, and we try to make a passage as safely as possible. As now I'm going towards the sun, and going, of course, crossing bridges, and as myself as an aspie, always gotta cross bridges. And always we gotta build bridges, whether the bridges are small bridges, medium-sized bridges. Large bridges or extra large bridges. We gotta build bridges between myself, my community, and our fellow neurotypicals. You, the 99.56%, whether within those four categories with some less than others, we have to build, of course, those bridges, whatever they are, whether they're big bridges, small bridges, extra big bridges, or small bridges. We have to build them because I'm different and I'm neurodivergent. Sometimes the way we communicate, we interact can seem strange, awkward, and bizarre, and it's nonetheless, I have no antagonistic, resentful feelings towards you, the majority of the population, which constitute 99.56%. We have to build these bridges because Aspies like myself have a lot to offer, especially when it comes to those special interests. Once we excel, and Aspies have to be supported as much as they can in those special interests, you know. If you don't know what Asperger's is, it's also known as HFA and high functioning autism, and it's a neurological mental divergent condition by which I am myself affected, but it's not really an affection in the sense that it's an illness, and please, it's not a disease. It's a neurological mental divergent condition. Look at those beautiful flowers, beautiful blue, and it's just, we see the world differently, and because of these mutations at the brain level, think of such as tiny small transistors at a microscopic level, at a nano level. These mutations have occurred, and I'm not going to vouch for the ABC's documentary came out a few years ago, which states the thesis or the theory that Asperger's is actually a next step towards humankind's evolution, towards mankind's evolution, towards, it's an evolutionary process. You know, it's an evolutionary process. You know, that it's an evolutionary process. That's what it states, that's what it is, and that's what it is with that, you know, and that's how we gotta do, and that's how we gotta get doing on the rock and roll things, you know, to always explain what our condition is, what mine as an individual Aspie, because I'm an individual sovereign citizen with Asperger's, and mind you, within the context. So I'm just gonna take a few minutes to explain what it is, and then we can rock and roll geopolitics and discuss my dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, because that is fundamentally what I'm calling all to support, or pledge your allegiance to our family, or friends with benefits only, because I'm all about work, and paradoxically, you know, Aspies, we're at a high level of unemployment, 80%, 80, yes, you heard that right, my tiny small community, and keep in mind that Asperger's, we're not a lot of people in the world, beautiful garden, we're less than 1 percentile, less than half of a percent. We're about 0.44%. 0.44% of people in the world have North America, because I'm a North American, right? Quebecer Canadian. 0.44%, right? That's not even 1 percentile. So you have to keep that in mind. That has to be kept in mind whenever we discuss Asperger's, how tiny the fraction of the population is compared to you, the 99.56%. So that's why there can be a lot of misunderstandings, and there's more and more work being done in the 20th century. And that, well, because it's I meant to say correction, it's a 20th century syndrome, condition, not an illness, again, not a disease. I'm not a disease. And more work has been done in the 21st century. More work has been done in the 21st century. More work has been done in the 21st century in regards, and more work has to be done still. So we have to start at the beginning with the premise that it's not a disease, because even 4 days ago, actually 3 days ago, Tuesday, and last week and 2 weeks before, and a lot of times it happens that I discuss with my fellow citizens, but this one was particular after the movie when we went to see Fantastic Four. And the appellation was, the dictum was, of course, that we had a discussion. We discussed several things, import coffee specific topics, right around coffee and prices and what have you. And we were in the store, and I realized that I was too close to him, because Aspies would tend to get very close to people in conversation. So I took a step back, and so we talked for like a few, I'll say about 4 minutes, and I was introduced. I said, you know, that I just have to let you know that I have Asperger's, and sometimes it could be a few minutes, maybe not 4, but maybe 4, something like that. The whole conversation was maybe 4 minutes and or seconds, but at one point I said that I have Asperger's, and he said, oh yeah, I know what the disease is. I said, Asperger's, I have HFA. He said, oh yeah, the disease, I know what the disease is. And I had to correct. I said, no. It's not a disease. And then he looked at me, he said, it's the disease. I said, no, it's not a disease. Then he kind of self-corrected. He said, yeah, it's a neurological, and he used the proper terms to describe what Asperger's is. A neurological divergent condition. Mental divergent condition. Relates to the differences of the brain, which are at the microscopic level, and that's how we see the world. Now, back to the ABC documentary. I'm not going to make the statement that it is an evolutionary step in mankind's evolution, because I really cannot. I'm not a neurologist, neuroscientist, brain scientist, psychiatrist, but I know a little bit about the topics. My main topic is, of course, geopolitics, parallel with rock and roll and sports and fitness, dancing being my favorite sport and fitness activity. But nonetheless, the premise of that documentary by ABC was that Asperger's is an evolutionary process, a step in mankind's evolution. Now, I don't know about that. Again, I have to watch it again, maybe study it a bit, more information, but that's what the claim was in the documentary, that people with Asperger's, Aspies, we're not a lot, again, we're less than 1%, 0.5%, and that's why a lot of people don't even know what it is. The Aspie population stands at around 0.44%. So not even one out of 300. Maybe not even 1 out of 300. So this condition makes one, of course, predisposed, to those special interests, predisposed to certain characteristics which might seem odd, bizarre, and weird and awkward in comparison to the behaviors on a daily basis, even in the public, to certain individuals, such as I give the example, to give a concrete example, an Aspie might inspect an object. For example, hydration a little bit, because it's hot. So I'll give you an example. I'll be myself in the store, and for years and years I've been doing this. Now I realize that it's due to my Asperger's, because I've been diagnosed and by several citizens individual across for more than 7 years now, 7, 8, 9 years now. And I used to inspect the objects like this. So we would focus on certain small characteristics, such as these tiny numbers there. There's FSC 01 40 47. Such numbers such as that, or other numbers, and looking at peculiar details such as where it's made. And myself, with the trade war, I'm smiling now because I've been doing it, looking at the import, where they're coming from and where the production is from. I've been looking at the labels for years and years, so it's not something that's new to me. Hot. You gotta stay hydrated. Oh yeah, it's a hot day today. So it would be a clear indication of Asperger's. So if you see somebody doing that, that might be an Aspie. Who does that? Who takes the object, inspects the object so closely to the body that you would think that is something wrong maybe with that person. That person might actually have Asperger's, you know. That person might have Asperger's. Might be an Aspie like myself. So I gotta give a shout out, thank you to my anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money, who gifted me a great book. 2 books actually on Asperger's autism, and 1 book was rented because it was a library loan, actually not a rental in a rental sense, but a loan from the library, called Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome, which made me of course open my realization, because like I said, I only accepted it about, I would say about 44 months ago, about 3.5 years ago during COVID, that I have Asperger's, because I've been told, diagnosed in many ways by different people for years and years and years and years, since more than 7, 8, 9 years now. But I never wanted to wear the label, you know, because it's still like a stigma, because it's on the autistic spectrum consideration now. It's integrated with autism. It was separate on its own before, but now it's on the spectrum. It's HFA, high functioning autism, but I still use both. I use both Asperger's, Asperger's and HFA, because there's differences. We don't require lots of support. Myself, at least as an individual Aspie, I don't require much support, but maybe sometimes I just have to be reminded, and things have to be done around the house, and I do them because I got that vigor, you know. I can be pretty intense, super concentrated, super focused, engaged when I do my special interest, when I work, read, study, or do everything that's related to geopolitics, such as news analysis of political events, of diplomacies, of meetings, etc., on a daily basis. All those considering, you know. You know. So all those considerations to be taken into account. That these matters are, of course, important to fully understand and grasp. That we don't have symptoms. I don't have symptoms. I'm not a disease. But we have, of course, characteristics, traits, you know. We have characteristics, traits. We have characteristics and traits. And those characteristics and traits can seem odd, bizarre, and strange and weird, such as repeating word sentences, sometimes twice, 3 times the same thing over and over, or echolalia, beautiful sunset. Or is it sunrise or sunset? So repeating sentences, you know? Repeating sentences. Or echolalia, exactly what somebody would say. Verbatim per verbatim, you know? If somebody says a phrase, we might repeat, not because we will it, you know? Not because we will it. But because we have these mutations. And so it's a response, and it's a characteristic of Asperger's to do those things. So it's always working on those things, because there's no medication. You cannot medicate Asperger's. It's a lifelong condition, and the causes are inconclusive. It's not certain whether it's hereditary, biological, genetic factors, or if it's by environmental factors. It could be both, but it's not conclusive. Causes are not well known, not well established. But it's not a disease. Again, I'm not a disease. I've at work at different places, I've heard people whispering, and I won't say where because I had many jobs in the past 7 years and during COVID, and I heard, oh, that's a disease, you know, that's a disease and disease and disease. No, it's not a disease. I'm just different. Just let me know, you know, you don't like me, keep your distance, and I'll roam free, hawk style, and love my dancing, love my rock and roll, and I just love in the sense of the Aspie type of love. Geopolitics is my special interest, and that's my kingdom, my realm, my domain. If you want to converse, have a dialogue, discuss geopolitics, especially since I have predicted what's happening now back in 2019. I have predicted what's happening now back in 2019, you know. Back in 2019, I have predicted what's happening now. I have proof of work, I have proof. I have the video online. Back in 2019, October, November, I predicted that there's going to be an international conflagration on the horizon. You know, I predicted that there's going to be an international conflagration on the horizon. And so I created a workout training program system to go hand in hand with such a scenario vis-a-vis what I had predicted. And it's been like that for years. And as far as my memory goes, I have retrograde amnesia, you know, memory loss. And I have trouble remembering my life prior to 2014, spring 2014. I used to live a few miles from here in Côte des Neiges, in an underground type of prison type of cell. It was a small, it was like a prison cell, not a prison cell. It was a small moldy place, underground basement. I moved from there, and I thought I moved in 2016, but it ends up that it was 2015 July. So it's been 10 years that I lived there. So I don't know how many years I lived there, and I bet that if I go retrieve archives from the library in the past 11 years, 90% of the books, because I spent a few years depressed and suicidal with one foot on the streets, one foot in the libraries, and I read tens of thousands of, not books, tens of thousands, hundreds of books, but I guess hundreds, tens of thousands of pages, mostly about history, politics, geopolitics, and you know, still do 24/7. And I predicted what's happening now back in 2019, October, November, because that's what I do. I'm also an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst, thinker, philosopher, theorist, and strategist. And geopolitics, I do it for hours and hours and hours a day on a daily basis. Sometimes I delay my marches, my workouts, due to the fact that I'm engaging, and I do geopolitics 24/7, even sometimes when I sleep. And I have a document from high school. I graduated high school long ago, and I supposedly I wanted to go to military college in Kingston. But like I said, my memory prior to 2014, spring 2014, is questionable. Spring 2014. Spring. Hey, look at those beautiful flowers there. They got nice gardens, eh? Pretty nice. Spring 2014, that's 11 years ago. 11 years and 4 months, so that's still a long time ago. So, not recent memory, just before that. Spring 2014, February, March, April 2014. Before that, my life remains a mystery. I don't know if I was a junkie, if I was a junkie. Was I a junkie? I lost some of that. Youth memories. Or if I did hard drugs or alcoholism. Sometimes being an alcoholic for a few years, when you stop drinking, when you change your life, you can lose memories, or trauma. I was attacked viciously. I survived a vicious surprise attack. Hit my head on the concrete, had a dislocated right arm, right shoulder, and was bloodied up. Salute the firefighters, send some loving. We love our firefighters, they love we finance them some massage therapy sessions, billionaires, millionaires of Canada, North American Collectif. And I was bloodied up, attacked viciously by surprise. I survived, and I went to the Jewish General Hospital, put me on some meds. I was kind of in a coma for a few days. I still have to go to retrieve the documents, retrieve the documents. When was it, and when was it exactly? And I survived that, and that's what it is with that, and that's what I gotta get doing with that, to get it on the drill, so that is just something which we got, That's why you gotta get on that, and that's why you gotta get on those, man, because fitness is important, I've been exercising, working out, training, exercising ever since I got out of my depression. I was depressed, suicidal for a few years, since I moved there, and I guess for 3 years, depression, suicidalness, and these main 3 problems affect Aspies more than the population. So these 3 problems are the main problems for us Aspies. Myself as an individual sovereign citizen with Asperger's, and of course the general Aspie community. The lack of friends. We don't have a lot of friends. I don't will to have necessarily many friends. It's just either friends will be. I don't will. It's not my volition, intention, or will to waste anybody's time. If you want to be a friends with benefits, then we rock and roll. Friends with benefits. Friends with benefits only from now on. This August 8th. Or pledge your allegiance, thou our family. for the empire, for our kingdom, the Democratic Republic, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, and the high depression and suicidal rates stand. Aspies, the depression and suicidal rates are 9 times higher than the neurotypicals. 9 times, eh? Can you imagine that? 9 times higher? 9 times. Think about that. For every one of you, the majority of the 99.56% who are depressed and suicidal between the neurotypicals, you have 9 aspies. 9 times higher. So that aspect. Another aspect is, of course, the unemployment rate. Aspies, usually we have many jobs. Me, of course, I had many jobs, many employments in the past years. It's just keeping them, maintaining jobs, because socializing, the way we socialize and how we do socialization of certain things, because sometimes aspies we can be pretty direct, straightforward, and we can offend, not because we mean to offend, or we can just be very weird socially in certain social dynamics. Again, it's not because we intend to be. It's just how we are, you know? Just how we are. Just how we are. So this is totally unacceptable. The unemployment rate stands at 80%. Unemployment rate for Aspies, listen to this, it's 80%. So this is, we have to work on. This is totally unacceptable. Do you imagine? Do you imagine being 80% unemployed? 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5, Betty. These brothers and sisters. Four out of 5. Think about that, 80%. No wonder there's a high isolation and depression and suicidal rate for people with Asperger's. And the whole question of masking, that's something which, you know, I don't address. It's gonna have to require a full video. What's his problem? He started barking. I don't know. Yeah, so our communication style can be weird, you know. We're just weird. We don't get certain social situations, we have to be told more directly if we offend and certain things, you know, we have to be, of course, on the go, you know. Gotta get it for that, and you know, that's just how we are to get it, you know? So that is just something which we have to understand fully in all the in all the domains which we interact with, whether at work, socially, organizations, groups, and institutions. You know, it's not, the world is pretty much made for neurotypicals, for you, the 99.56%. That's why I always say we have to build bridges, whether small bridges, medium bridges, big bridges, or large bridges or extra large. Within those 4 categories of small, medium, large, extra large, I guess those are just like, you know, when you order fries or coffee, you order small coffee or medium-sized coffee or large coffee or extra large coffee or fries. Just those are the 4 main categories of bridges, and within those categories there's subcategories of bridges which we gotta build together between us, Aspies, and you, the neurotypicals. So that is just how we gotta work together, because I'm not antagonistic. I don't have antagonistic sentiments, feelings, or intentions, or ill will, or towards you, the neurotypicals, who constitute the vast majority of more than 99% of the population, by far. So we have to build these bridges, and I hope that my discussions always help in a little bit of bridging these bridges and understanding that certain things we just don't get. It takes an effort, it takes work on our behalf and on yours to say, you know, socializing and the way we communicate socially. Sometimes Aspies for their community is more difficult, and that's why they're more direct sometimes, and they don't mean to offend Aspies, you know, kind of try to be more understanding and that. And 80% unemployment is really 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10. This is totally, and I had myself many jobs, you know. I had myself many jobs, but it's just losing them, you know. So that's just where we stand in the social aspects of the social nature. Just gonna stretch a bit before I cross the street, my back a bit, and now I can go. Here there's more seconds than the other place, you know, than the other place. We got more seconds than the other place. But nonetheless, to be on the side of all the fellow community of Aspies, the statistics proportions, of course, is that 80% unemployment is something which you realize that we have to be aware of, and that's what we have to be doing, you know, and that's why we have to get on that appellation, you know, to get on those doings of the things which we constitute ourselves as a community, and the constitution of the community, to get it on the go, you know, to always be mindful of those situational complexes where we interact in a manner that can be more different, you know, than others. That's why sometimes the directness, the straightforwardness can be seen as, you know, like offensive, but it's not because we mean to be offensive, you know. We might just say, that's why when I say from now on, you know, I don't want to waste nobody's time, you know, don't waste mine, friends with benefits only, otherwise I really have no need whatsoever, you know. And that's how we are, you know, that's just how we are, and I go my way and you go your way, you know, and that's it. If you want to be a friend with benefits, and if you're a white, black or white, man or woman, you want to do some love. I play that rainbow, and you know, it's a big city, big North American complex. It's a big world, and you know, you come on and make some loving with me, and we do some good loving, you know, and consent and hygiene, you know. Just gotta be 18 plus, you know. Gotta be 18 plus. Gonna card you, you know, just gonna card you, you know, just like gonna card when you get to go buy some liquor, some booze, some beer, somewhere where you go buy that requires a card, or when you go to a club you might require to be carded. So that's how I'm gonna proceed. So that's why I say I don't will to waste nobody's time. Just don't waste my time, I won't waste yours, and friends with benefits only. If you want to make some good loving, or white or black or rainbow, you know, man or woman, because I'm 50-50 androgynous pansexual, you know, my reincarnations and past lives aside, and yeah, I get lustful, you know, I'm not really looking per se, you know, because I have plenty of scars on my body, but yeah, I mean, androgynous, 50-50, and sometimes gets that rocket blessed, you know, and get that good rocket, thanks goddess, God bless and goddess kiss it, and somebody lost a few eggs. Man, we can break some eggs, cook some omelet, and support the dream. And I'm broke, financially stressed, but I got trillions of kisses here on Hawk Island, Montreal, Hawk Island, HAWK. And you know what? It's been years and years and years. I even having left outside of this island. COVID I had in between February 2020 and March 2020. So I got vaccinated, 3 vaccines. I always call upon all to keep the protocols of the hygienic protocols of COVID, and you know, I like to see people. I just saw 4 couples before holding hands, so that's always good for me to see that loving, because it's not all about the money, and I want to see love. I want people to be loved, and I want to love in my own way, you know, and with consent, and we can get, you know, we can get loving with that. I always gotta get it for the left and for the right, and you know, you either gotta let me know directly, you know, if you want to be a friend with benefit, or because Aspies, we don't get the social cues, you know. You might have to wink 4 times, and you're of course on the winking dove, and you wink and you say, hey, how are you, and you know, I'm into you and I want to get to know you, or you tell me something like that, or yeah, I would want to try one friends with benefits what you got, and I'll let you know that I got that good rainbow loving, black, white, and rainbow, and don't waste my time, I won't waste yours, and I keep a very fit, physical, active lifestyle, you know. I love men, women, men, you know. Play that rainbow, I am pansexual, and that's it, you know. I just roam joyously, financially stressed, but pretty joyous, and that's it. I don't like violence. I'm somebody who doesn't like violence, you know. I've been attacked by surprise, and I was attacked by surprise. I was bloodied up, I survived, and I was overweight. I lost between 80 and 93 pounds. What got me out of depression was crossing Canada coast to coast, ocean to ocean. That event in my life really made me come out of that event in my life really made me come out of being depressed and suicidal, you know. That really made me come out of being depressed and suicidal, and of course made me come out of my depression. I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, you know. Nice red. I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians. I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians when I crossed Canada coast to coast, and that event made me come out of my whole life changed. It's gonna be 8 years in August, and I had the tickets in August 15th, of course, left of course for Vancouver, BC, and of course went out west for Vancouver, BC. It's gonna be 8 years soon. By bus it took us 3.5 days, me and my anonymous friend, and that's all we got, and that's what we do, and that's what we gotta rock and roll, you know, to get it on that, go with that. And that is something which we have to be transmissive about and be always. I like to remind of that memory is really a good memory for me, although my memories prior to 2014 spring kind of go on that blackout, but that is something, of course, which we have to get on the side of the things where we have to switch a little bit of that left, switch a little bit of left or right, and get a little bit of that rock and roll, and always get a little bit of that. Wait, what's that? I'm not gonna touch it, maybe somebody's. So anyways, crossing Canada coast to coast made me come out of being depressed and being suicidal, twist your hips left and right. So before that I was depressed and suicidal, and I crossed Canada coast to coast and coast to coast, ocean to ocean. That's what it is. And I crossed Canada all the way, because we went first in August, we went to BC, British Columbia, and of course then we went for September. In September 2017, we went. September 2017, we went to Halifax, Nova Scotia. So basically, summer 2017, we crossed Canada coast to coast, coast to coast, coast to coast, coast to coast, coast to coast. So that made me establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians. Ever since then, I started working out training. I was at 293 pounds. Now I'm around 205. So I lost anywhere between 80 pounds and 93 pounds. 80 pounds and 93 pounds, you know. Gotta turn my head left and right here. Although it's one way, you know, they can come and turn, and the brake malfunctions. And that's what it is with that. And that's what we gotta get doing, man. It's a perfect time for ice cream. It's so hot. I think it's 30 degrees. I won't stop because I'm going to the mountain, but I just gotta get that notation that is very nice for ice cream. Very nice day. So enjoy your ice cream, and that's always something nice. Get some ice cream, and you know me, I like sweets, wafers, and I also like ice cream. My ice cream I like a lot is one my friend got the other day was pistachio. It was so good. And this pistachio cream, I don't know if I would be able to afford it to buy it, but on the market, but it was so good. Somebody donated, like, it was an expired jar, but it was still good, because expiry dates and best before, it was best before date and expiry date. Sometimes they're even good a few months afterwards. So this one was still good. If it's sealed, you know. So if it's sealed, depending on the dates and depending on the products, you know. Different products, different dates, they'll resemble, of course, their different dimensions of course, whatever we have to get doing at that. So back to me traversing Canada, you know, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. That was, of course, the traversing Canada that really changed my whole life, you know. Prior to that day, I was depressed, suicidal for a few years actually. So seeing Canada was such an awakening. I had an awakening. I said, wow, so many things to see, to do, so many things to see, to do across Canada, that I established a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians. I established a strong esprit de corps, and my brothers and sisters in the USA as well, because, you know, it's always for the 10, the 50, and the 3. So I'm gonna check a little bit of these flowers here. Oh wow, this is nice. Oh yeah, I like that. Those are really beautiful. I love those colorful flowers there. They just quadruple my smile. They're so vivid, so full of life, eh? It's just something which I admire. Their smell up to over here also. So cute garden. Gotta get on that cute garden with that. And that's when I crossed Canada coast to coast, 2017. That event made me come out of depression and be suicidal. And that's what it is with that. And that's how I gotta rock and roll it. So back to 2017, back in time. It was a hardcore trip. So it took us 3.5 days from Montreal, me and my anonymous friend, Montreal to Vancouver, BC. And we changed trains a few times. I still have the tickets, so I'm auctioning them for $1 million each. Give 50% half to my anonymous friend. And then we came back, and in September, 2 weeks later, we went, or a few days later, a week later, we went. I decided to go to Halifax, Nova Scotia. Halifax, Nova Scotia. Halifax, Nova Scotia. Halifax, Nova Scotia. So that changed my whole life. I just had an awakening, you know, like a revelation. And by train, it took us from Montreal to Halifax, 25 hours and 44 minutes exactly. That's written on the ticket, and that was really a great experience crossing Canada. So basically, we ocean to ocean it. To the west, BC, British Columbia, Vancouver is the Pacific, and then we went Nova Scotia, Halifax is the Atlantic. So from coast to coast, admire, mask, admire. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, the Pacific and the Atlantic. So traversing Canada really changed my life, you know. So I guess I'm on my 4th change and rebirth, and I don't mind change, especially my only stress now is really economic, financial, commercial wise, money wise. Although I gotta be grateful because paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, paid my phone bill, that Trinity triple bills, paid my phone bill, paid my electricity bill, paid my rent, my rent's paid for August, it is August 8th, paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, paid my phone bill. Those 3 bills, that Trinity of bills paid. I still got some money to buy food and some club soda, and I don't do drugs, I don't do alcohol, you know. Very rarely, if I split 50-50 on a wine sometimes, wine to drink with a meal, that's enjoyable. A red wine, and usually when it's affordable, but I wouldn't deprive myself of eating well and experiencing new things, because money serves a purpose. And I am very wealthy, very rich, very affluent, very rich, wealthy, affluent in other things: rock and roll, sports and fitness, dancing, choreography, rainbow, dragon is also, of course, also priestess of the goddess Adrian Hannah Dragon, and I always do that choreography. I always dance, even now, with my eyes a bit, with my feet, with my toes, a little bit of those buttocks, twerk a little bit. And so is that rock and roll, which I create on the spot every day. Rock and roll songs, both French and English, because here in liable province we fly those bilingual flags here in Quebec, you know. And just gonna finish with that on me, and I'm gonna encourage you to work out, train, exercise. Gonna salute the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the truckers, train conductors, grocery store clerks, welders, electricians, plumbers, those construction workers, crane operators and firefighters are boys and girls in blue. I gotta sing that rock and roll because ain't nobody perfect. That includes that me and you. So as I sing that rock and roll for the boys and girls in blue, ain't nobody perfect. Our institutions are not perfect, and that's what we gotta do on that go, and that's what we do on that rock and roll, you know, to take it on those triple N, and that's what we have to get doing, you know. So that is something which you have to appellate, you know. So as I sing also that rock and roll parallel for the boys and girls in blue, I always sing that rock and roll for those who do their criminal rehabilitation. You take your second chance and you turn your life around, you know. You take your second chance and you turn your life around, and that always makes me sing that rock and roll for those who do that as well. Because I had my, I guess, second, third, even fourth chances, as I'm, I guess, on my fourth beginning when I moved there from there. I used to live in that moldy place. That was once. When I crossed Canada, that was the second. When I died of COVID, that was the third. And this summer 2025, I guess, is the fourth change in this 11-year cycle, I guess, because before spring 20 before spring 2025 2014, so 11 years and 4 months ago, I got those memory problems, you know. Just have problems remembering, accessing my life prior to that point in time, you know. It's just something which we have to get on the going other side of things and drive slow. I think there was an accident there. Yeah, I heard somebody get a little bit of an accident, and maybe that's what caused my retrograde amnesia, that trauma, and got plenty of scars and was viciously attacked by surprise. And as that car bumped its head, because I mean the head with the engine, into that pole, see over there, such as maybe my memory loss of my life memories prior to spring 2014, maybe because when I was attacked viciously by surprise and hit my head on the concrete, and went to the Jewish General Hospital, still have to go to retrieve the archives as it was bloodied up. Maybe that, or what are memories of unspeakable deeds being committed against me. And I survived, you know, and maybe that trauma to the head back then, hitting my head on the concrete, maybe alcohol prior to 2014. Maybe I drank for a few years. I just drank my sorrows and tried to drown in alcohol due to Asperger's or hard drugs, and somehow I am here and joyous and fitter than I was. I guess my fitness journey commences every day, and mine started when I crossed Canada coast to coast in 2017. I got between 80 and 93 pounds down, and it's always a good rehabilitation, and it's always something which we gotta get doing with that, and something which we have to be understanding and mindful of, and something which we also have to understand that my individual aspiness is different from another individual sovereign with Asperger's, as we are individuals part of this collective Quebec, Canada, Quebec, or what I call the Great North American Civilizational Complex. The Great North American Civilizational Complex, of which we are together, of course, bound in this North American new emergent civilizational complex, which is not totally divorced, but is distinct from Western civilization. So that is always something which I have to appellate. And now, best that we discuss what I'm good at, gonna hydrate, and we're gonna get into geopolitics, because I am an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst, theorist, philosopher, and thinker, and strategist. So let's hydrate a bit. Gotta watch the car here. Turn my head left and right. Hydrate again. Oh yeah. Now we can discuss geopolitics. Hold on, I'm gonna put this in the backpack. In the front here. The lion, the lion, the lion. Yeah, so geopolitics. Gonna discuss now geopolitics. So we're gonna pass by this garden here. Oh, look at those beautiful yellows. Thank you, public workers. I like those. Those are cute. Kind of cute, there, eh? Yeah. Got these ones also. Kind of like big ones. Don't pick them, please. Leave them for everybody. Leave them for everybody. So geopolitics. Leave the baggage at the door, please. We're entering my kingdom, my special interest. Aspies, we have special interest, also known as obsessive interest, and we can excel at those while we're not so good at other matters. Unfortunately, with the, or perhaps as a paradoxical good out of the curse, the aspiness, you call it obsessive, but I'm not gonna use that term because we can be intense, concentrated, super in and super engaged, super dedicated when we study, learn, or work vis-a-vis and in those special areas of interest known as special interests for Aspies. It can be intense. My trinity of special interests has been, is, and will be, I guess, for years and years and years. Geopolitics, sports and fitness, dancing being my favorite sports and fitness activity, on rock and roll. And so that's what we do. And so leave the baggage at the door. We're gonna go back in time. 2019. In 2019, in October, November, I had predicted that there's gonna be an international conflagration on the horizon. And of course, love to see those people, fellow citizens, cousins, aunties, holding those hands there. Somebody gives me a little bit of that hope. Although I see blurred, see my fellow citizen coming, I see a bit of a blurredness. I was prescribed some glasses, but financially can't really afford it too much now. Although the cost will be covered partially, but still, at this moment in time, I guess I'm gonna have to wait until I get maybe a second opinion on the glasses. Got something in my eyes, pieces of dust. So of course, I have proof for what I'm gonna say next. I have proof. I predicted back in 2019 what's ongoing now, what's been happening now, at least since Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2020. I had predicted that there's gonna be an international conflagration on the horizon, aka World War III. I like this here. Beautiful flowers. It's actually sunflowers. You know, so that's what it is, and that's what it is on the go, and that's what we got that rock and roll to do. So of course, keep that in mind. That has to be kept in mind to the duration and the protocols of these durations is what we have to be doing on the go. So of course, that is what has to be understood and has to be primarily incorporated in all the, sorry guys.
Go ahead.
Thank you. See, there's nice flowers here. So of course, just because I have the backpack, I have to excuse because I don't want to impede their work, and so I go my way, you know. So that's what it is with that. And that's what we gotta get doing, you know. So it's sort of which we have to get on the conclusive side, and we have to get it on that loving, you know. So basically, you need to leave the baggage at the door for now. We're entering my kingdom, my realm, the geopolitical kingdom. Back in 2019, that gives me hope. I guess there's hope for the free world, eh? There's some hope for the free world. It ain't all about the money, eh? It's not all about the money, eh? Hey, Draconis, I love seeing that. People, some hugging there, and I'm never gonna turn down any hug. Anybody wants to give me a hug, you hug for me. Like you haven't hugged before, you know? It could be our last day, eh? Many of us servicing our first responders, we gotta send some love to our first responders. We're gonna send some love to our boys and girls in blue, and we're gonna send some fucking love to our brothers and sisters who turn their fucking life around and take their fucking second, third, fourth chances and do your fucking criminal rehabilitation. And we're gonna build fucking those 44 fucking underground Montreal cities across our coming empire, across the 10 to 50 of the three, both Canada and United States. And we're gonna build 44 mass underground cities, spider tunnel webs, tunnels connected with massive tunnels, and in case of a thermonuclear war, to salvage if there's a nuclear war in the 21st century, because it seems like there is the storm of the century. It seems like there is the storm of the century now, you know, so that is what's ongoing now, I guess. And of course, I had predicted the international conflagration, what's happening now. And of course, I have predicted it, and I didn't only predict that. What I did not predict was that there's going to be a deterioration of relations with the United States. So that I have to also include. So I have predicted that there's going to be an international World War III scenario, conflagration. But what I did not predict, and this is new for me, what's been happening in the past 44 months, is the fact that there's a deterioration of relations between Canada and the United States. The deterioration of relations between Canada and the United States is a point to consider. The deterioration of relations between Canada and the United States is a point which we need to consider together, as I'm gonna go to my second home, the mountain there, and it's something which we have to fully comprehend and integrate, you know, in the spheres of the coming discussion that's gonna unfold now between me, you, and us, and this work that I do here on YouTube. And right there, this separates my new neighborhood, nothing that I will to go back to. My new neighborhood, where I live now, and I used to live over there, a few kilometers that way. So this is kind of where my old neighborhood begins with. So this is kind of the border between my new neighborhood here in NDG and my old neighborhood in Citoyen, Côte-des-Neiges. So nothing that I will to go back to, but just to mention that prior to 2014, and I don't know exactly how many years I lived in that small underground prison type of cell-like basement. A few years, I guess. It was small underground, and sometimes memory comes back. Sometimes you lose it due to alcoholism or drugs, or, you know, several things can cause memory loss, you know. Memory loss can be caused by several things, you know. Memory loss can be caused by several things, and that's the SQ, Service Quebec, our provincial police, our RCMP. Here's the federal police. And of course, the RCMP is the equivalent, of course, of the FBI. The FBI. So the RCMP is of course like the FBI, and pretty much the RCMP is pretty much like the FBI. So we have to fuse together. And my way to fuse Canada and the United States best, you know, my way to fuse Canada and the United States best. My way to fuse Canada and the United States best. Gotta salute the truckers. See how my brain now works. Now at this point in time, is integrated with all the North American collective civilizational complex, and our boys and girls in blue there got a salute. We have to integrate and to be for SSD, Security Service and Defense, based on my new 911 Dragon Total SSD, security for the North American collective, to implement and of course to get it on the go and see that it is, that truck might carry some bacon, some cheese, some eggs, some butter. Maybe he's a bit frustrated on the XYZ side, and he's carrying all our goods, and which are transported across the North American Civilizational Collective right now, and of course all the goods which are now being transported across the 10, the 50, and the 3 are part linked to this highway, which is vulnerable for espionage and sabotage because we made potential enemies, and we've been warned by the RCMP, of course, that it has been growing. Domestic increase is going to be the transnational criminal organizations which have been taking root, and the growing domestic problems of fentanyl production has been an increasing problem, as we see that last year in 2024, October 24, there has been the biggest ever seizure in BC, British Columbia, in the Falklands. There has been the biggest ever seizure of fentanyl and super lab, which was dismantled, and you know, that is, of course, proof right there that it has increased the fentanyl production. Not necessarily the amount that fentanyl that's going into the United States, although it seems to have increased as well. And of course, I'm no Trump supporter. I would have voted for Kamala Biden, and that's how it is. I gotta give some rock and roll to the truckers once again. Let's do a little bit of song of rock and roll, a little bit of meditation for the truckers. How many truckers are now carrying bacon, eggs, cheese, butter, bread across North America? Just, of course, for you to do that, of course, in terms of what we have as information, as knowledge, is sure that we're gonna lack some information and knowledge about to have all the details, right? But we can estimate that there's X, Y, Z, or A, B, C, D. We can categorize the truckers or the trucking into 4 different plateaus, and some of those truckers we gotta salute, we gotta love, whoever they may be. If they're trucking across the empire, the coming of our democratic Imperial Republic, we gotta salute, and we gotta consequentially also send some of that good loving, because they're so essential as along to carry all the goods. Imagine, because we are a huge North American complex, right? We have supermarkets and markets and smaller markets and bigger markets and family markets, but of course the trucks transport the goods across Quebec, Canada, Montreal, and across Canada, United States, and Mexico is part of the North American complex, the North American civilizational complex. Mexico is part of it, so Mexico has to be included, right? Although, well, we're gonna fuse Canada and United States. So I always, when I pass highways like that, my brain switches due to Asperger's, and always try to calculate and envision a little bit in my mind all the highways of the North American civilizational complex. And that's why in the future we're gonna build Citizen Integrated by CIT, Citizen Integration Theory. We're gonna fuse our citizenship for the total security service and defense centrist democratic republican plateau. And we're gonna mass finance fitness. We're gonna have the rehabilitation of the public. We got a lot of public rehabilitation to do, and of course public sanitation to do, and that's how we have to gonna get that rock and roll, you know. So it's of course what it is with that, and that's what it is. So that's the truckers with the business, of course, to get it on the go, and that is something which we have to get doing, you know. The truckers on the road, you know. So meaning that there is of the truckers on the road, and that's what we got, you know. So they might be carrying hundreds of tons right now of eggs and bacon, cheese, whatever the case may be, whatever the case may be, you know. I'm gonna turn. Hold on. I'm gonna turn this motherfucker. On va tourner sur ton magasin. On va. Yo. Joke. Look to home, boys. Yeah, so now I try to meditate and think about how many trucks. Carl Sagan rocks and rolls, you know? Carl Sagan rocks and rolls. Carl Sagan rocks and rolls, you know? Carl Sagan rocks and rolls. Rocks and rolls, but he rocks and rolls in science fiction as I rock and roll in geopolitics. As with all the imperfections, flaws, the scars, I have predicted what's happening now back in 2020 in 2019 in 2019 in 2019 October, November. So I had predicted the current situation in 2019. I have predicted it in 2019. Generally, I'm based on an intellectual, academic, beautiful flowers. I just love quadruple. Quadruples my whole. Quadruples my whole smile. That's what it is with that. And that's what it is with that. And that's what it is with the goal. It is with that, man, you know. That's that it is what it is. This is also wow, this is a 9+. It even quadruples my smile. What a good job. I will to build the 4 buildings and have garden like this. You know, I want to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple. The Forgotten Goddess Temple. The Forgotten Goddess Temple, you know. Forgotten Goddess Temple. The Forgotten Goddess Temple. GODDSS as I God bless it, Goddess kiss it. The Forgotten Goddess Temple. Where to be 11 times bigger than the 11 times bigger than the 11 times bigger than the St. Joseph's Oratory. To be 11 times bigger than the St. Joseph's Oratory. St. Joseph's Oratory. St. Joseph's Oratory is a mega construction in Quebec, Canada, Montreal. Of course, I will to build a Forgotten Goddess Temple, which is gonna be 11 times bigger than the Forgotten Goddess Temple. And of course, that's what we need to build and construct. Parallel to that, on the Canadian-US border, let's build the parallel to the Forgotten Goddess Temple, which is going to be 11 times bigger than the St. Joseph's Oratory. Let's build the biggest sports arena complex ever. Biggest sports arena complex ever. To be 11 times bigger than the Louisiana Superdome, who changed names, became Mercedes-Benz, and the last change of names was recently. Now it's known as the Caesars Superdome. Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. So just like myself, I changed my name. So that, of course, changes that arena, sports arena, where my 49ers lost by 3 points to the Baltimore Ravens in Super Bowl 47. Super Bowl 47 has several nicknames. One of the nicknames is Harbor Ball, aka Blackout Ball, aka Brawl Ball. And of course, we're gonna build it. And me and Donald Trump are gonna inaugurate it with a fight. Me and Donald Trump are gonna fight on the Canadian-US border to inaugurate the building, or at the building of that massive, biggest ever sports complex arena for sportists and perpetuities. We're gonna have sports events 24/7 with all sports and fitness organizations, both public and private. Is gonna be a massive public-private partnership, and we're gonna build also the Scarlet and Crimson, our shades of red, that pyramid, that House of the Dragon, where I can have open house and open doors, sometimes, not all the times, and of course the Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow neurodivergent communities, for the fellow neurodivergents and fellow neurodivergent communities and fellow Aspies. So we're gonna build those four together. And now back to geopolitics. What's alarming, what I did not predict, was the growing tensions and deterioration of relations with the United States. So now I'm going to make a statement, and this declaration statement, when it comes, it's a political one, that's related to geopolitics, of course, that you have to say yes, 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 yes. You cannot say no, you cannot say maybe to this following declaration. You cannot say no, or you cannot say maybe. This following declaration has to be a yes. It's always a yes. It's like a constant, like the pi symbol, the n, of course, the pi symbol, which of course relates, the pi symbol relates to the number, which relates to the ratio and the circumference of a circle. The ratio and the circumference of the circle always relates to that number, the n, and the letter for normal, neutral, natural, or Normandy. And can take some newspapers. So that letter N has like two heads. It's like two faces, two heads. Thus our coming Imperial Republic, by fusing Canada and the United States, will have like two heads, two faces, just like symbolically like that N, which, like I said, this following statement that I'm gonna say, that I'm gonna say always relates to the realities of that constant in mathematics. The N symbol representing a number 3.14, 15, 16, it goes ad infinitum. And thus, this statement now, that us Canadians, Quebecers, Canadians, and my brothers and sisters in the USA applies reciprocally, Canada vis-a-vis the United States, and the United States vis-a-vis Canada, that us, we must have with each other in concordium when it comes as a top number one priority for foreign affairs. Foreign affairs wise, our first number one priority in number one place has to be to have the best, most cordial economic, social, financial, military, defense relations with each other. Not domestic internal affairs. When it comes to external affairs, foreign affairs, that has to be the number one. That has to be the number one number one interest. The number one interest. You know? The number one interest. The number one interest. When it comes to foreign affairs. You cannot say no, you cannot say maybe, it's non-negotiable. It's a constant geopolitical reality. It's a constant geopolitical reality. It represents that constant geopolitical reality, which is unalterable, doesn't change, has not changed for the past 75 years, at least since the dissolution of this British Empire. And it's not changing now. It's not changing now, right? So it's something that you cannot negotiate with, right? It's constantly the same. So you see those flags there? They got the Quebec flag, Canada flag, and I guess Brazil, and see the escalation, the tariff war is part, in many ways, it could be placed in the type of World War III international conflagration scenario, because tariffs were used by the United States in the 30s, just before the Second World War. Tariffs were used by the United States before, long ago, almost 100 years ago. But nonetheless, they were used by the United States before. So they were used before by the USA, right? So it's not something which is necessarily new. Well, it's newish for the 21st century, just like, gonna cross to see those flowers, just like the deterioration of Canada-United States relation is new. It never happened in recent history for more than, since I guess 1812, but that was before Canada's Confederation and the current Constitution. But we need to fuse a new Constitution, my way, public-private partnership, democratic, republican, and centrist. My centrism is North American centripetal. When I say my centrism, my North American collective centrism is a strong mass public-private partnership based and is integrated with my Trinity theories, the DRT, Detrital Fusion Theory, the CIT, Citizen Integration Theory, and the DFT, Democratic Fusion Theory, which to be implemented via the fourth dimension as well, LOVE, that love, and to create the two complementary, covenant, and cooperative institutions for the 63, the 10, the 3, and the 50. Have been and will challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match, and we're gonna find the solutions here. And it's not 51, it's now 1, and it's Sir Granddaddy Trump is a toughie, but it's not the way to invite Canada like that. Invite Canadians properly by some pie baking, some financing of tourism, but we will do all these. But of course, it's a mistake, and we have to also be realistic. Between 75% and 90% of our goods go to the United States. Between 75% and 90% of our goods go to the United States. We also have to be realistic about that fact that not a lot of countries will be able to absorb in mass, at least in the coming years, coming weeks, months, years, even 3 years and a half. We're probably going to be able to only top. I wish I could afford to give my anonymous friend a house like this. To top, of course, to give a house like this to my anonymous friend would be rock and roll. But of course, we have to keep that in mind. See the rivers over there? That we are not going to find a market to take more than maybe 75% of our total exports goods. And this will only happen in, I would say, 2, 3, 3.5 years, maybe 4, you know? So, because the fact that, of course, Germany, the main economic engine of the European Union, also has their own economic social problems. Germany, they have their own economic problems. And of course, the rearmament of Germany is a taboo which has been broken. Of course, see, that's the river there, but that's miles and kilometers away. We're high up now, we're on the mountain. One of the 3 peaks of the mountain now, we're on West Mount. That's why we kept on going up. Now we're going up and down a bit on the mountain, and then we're gonna go back up again, see? So basically that's what we're going, a little bit of up and down on the mountain, see? So that's just the reality of our geopolitical situation. So once again, the statement is, when it comes to our primary when it comes to foreign affairs, our primary interest, when it comes to placing it in a hierarchical manner, so in terms of the hierarchical manner, we have to place this, we have to, of course, categorize that, of course, it is our main interest. I wish I could afford to give my anonymous friend this one. How much? 514-923-5383, 514-923-5383, 514-923-5383. I would buy my anonymous friend this house. If I could afford to buy her that house, I would. Right away, without hesitation, but preferably by the river, because my anonymous friend wasn't my friend because of the money, because I never had it, and would like more to be on the river, you know. I would love to be able to afford to give my anonymous friend that gift. For all the years put up with this Aspie, you know. It's not easy it's not easy. Asperger's is very tough for neurotypicals. It's a tough condition, can be problematic for many people to fully understand, and there's a lot of confusion and you know, and some problems, but until some Aspies and are okay, are well off, you know. I guess I'm pretty joyous. I'm just financially stressed, but paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, and friends with benefits only, pledge your allegiance, support the dream, my dream, paradoxically, with all the scars, all the trauma, all the suffering, all the pain, all the financial stress. I have some of the solutions, not all of the solutions. I have all of the solutions, not all, of course. So now discussing, of course, I'm going to try to be less intellectual as I can, because utilizing too much intellectual academic discussions can sometimes be not necessarily productive. I see now the lights went off, and I'm always thinking about, you know, the whole hacking dynamics, the sabotage dynamics, the hacking of our North American collective, because, you know, we made powerful enemies in the past 4 years, you know, 3.5 years. We made very powerful enemies because of what I call, as my philosophy called DAA, DMAA, direct military assistance, or direct military action or assistance, AA, DMAA, D.M.A.A. So it could be either or both, assistance and action by NATO member countries in regards to non-NATO member countries' wars between themselves. So let's say when two non-NATO countries war with each other, that's non-NATO, right? So when NATO gets involved in non-NATO conflicts, I call the philosophy DMAA, and this DMAA, direct military action or assistance. This is a bit academic, intellectual, but I'm going to try to simplify. So just simply put, when NATO countries get involved in conflicts between two or many other non-NATO aligned countries, such as Russia, Ukraine, neither is part of NATO, right? Such as Israel, and it could be Iran. None of them are part of NATO. It could be China or Taiwan. And because we assist either or party, that can cause internal North American or across the NATO security complex, because NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is a collective military security affair, you're right? That can cause the internal conflicts by non-NATO aligned member diaspora community groups. So non-NATO aligned member diaspora groups, and of course I have written a theoretical paper for the mass public-private partnership citizen integrated incentive for the reconciliation with non-NATO North Atlantic Treaty Organization, non-NATO aligned diaspora member groups. So basically, in other words, the non-NATO member diaspora groups, the non-NATO member diaspora groups can, of course, utilize, of course, transnational criminal organizations, transnational criminal groups, transnational criminal organized criminal syndicates, transnational criminal organized syndicates, right? Which are non-NATO in origin. It could be from country X, country Y, country Z, country W, or country A, country B, country C, country D. So from whatever countries which are non-NATO originally, right? So they can originate these transnational groups, such as, we'll give you an example, it could be from during the Syrian civil war, which lasted a long time, where the Islamic State terrorism arisal, and it's interesting because I have blackout memory of 2014, spring, my life prior to spring 2014, but I have these flashes of like late 2014, early 2015, when I have these type of dreams. I don't know what happened, but I have these dreams that I was kind of abused and fought with the Islamic State terrorist organizations, whatever. I'm not going to go into that. That's just something which is kind of still perplex me to this day. Yeah. But after between 2015 and 2024 of last year, Syria became basically funded the civil war with a sort of a narco type of state, narco state, right? If they're financing their war in a type of narco state type, but they for like 3.5 years they were fully a narco state because they have taken over supplies and were shipping to like I believe 44 countries or so across Africa, the Middle East, and Europe, and I think even to some point here maybe in Canada. We gotta double check. But across the Middle East, in Middle Eastern countries, they became predominant in the production of Captagon. Captagon was originally a drug engineered, I believe, in the 60s in Germany by a German pharmaceutical. Double check the information, but by a German pharmaceutical who had banned it in the 90s. So Captagon it's like a painkiller, it's maybe euphoria type of mixture between ecstasy and speed, I believe, something like that. Between ecstasy and speed. I don't know because I never took it. I don't know if like I said before 2014, if I did experiment and did lots of drugs, did lots of drinking, maybe, or by trauma. That's why, of course, I lost my memory with that, and we have, of course, to get on the drill with that to get it on the plateau. But nonetheless, Syria had become a full-blown narco state. Syria became a full-blown narco state. That's fact. They were mass-producing Captagon, and they were fueling their war with this Captagon pills, or pretty much capsules, pills, and affordable. They're affordable drug. It was nicknamed, I believe, at one point, poor man's drug. And in December, when the Syrian regime fell officially, the Assad dynasty ruled for like many decades. They ruled since like 70s, right? The Assad, the father, first ruled for like 31 years or so. 71, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, double check, but I believe it was since 1971. Assad's father, and then Bashar al-Assad kind of took reins in the year 2000. And then you had this what's called the Arab Spring. It was a major geopolitical event which had its ups and downs and still its reverberation, and still lots of the conflicts of the Arab Spring dated to even are continuing today in Libya and other countries. So due to that DMA or A, direct military assistance or action taken by we have created internal diaspora groups which they can ally, these transnational criminal syndicates can ally themselves due to this DMAA. So I've discussed this theory, and it's not really a theory, it's a philosophical geopolitical analysis and a geopolitical reality. Transnational groups. Just last year, of course, we see that on the 24th of October 2024, we have the RCMP who dismantled the biggest ever drug super lab in Canadian history, and they found 95 million pills. These are not Captagon pills, these are fentanyl, right? Fentanyl pills, capsules, whatever, doses, if you will, because they're doses, really, right? Those doses, 95 million fentanyl doses, would have been, in theory, capable to kill the population of Canada twice over. Double the population of Canada this way. If we're 44 million today, that means 44 times 2, that's 88 million. So what's true, which cannot be negated from the left or from the right, liberal, conservative, and the RCMP has warned us for years, they warned us, the RCMP, that there's a growing they were sounding the alarm. Right when I started sounding the alarm that we're headed towards World War III, nobody wanted to listen in 2019, October, November. I have a few views, get a few views there, my unedited discussion, and a bit of honest, and I've been discussing with people, they didn't want to listen. Said, no, we're going too good, we're rock and rolling, and globalization is working, and this is working, and this, and things change. I got hit by COVID, and between beautiful gardens here. I really love your yellow.
You know what? They're perennials.
The yellow is it's all yellow. I really love it.
Only forget the color. I was telling the other gentleman. These are perennials, the Rudbeckias. the monarch butterflies, they come and pollinate on this type of flower only. And then
The
when they
monarch,
multiply,
butterfly monarch can.
yeah, they
Okay.
only like these rudbeckias because of whatever is in there.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, neither did I until I found out. So now that's why. And then bees, so and so, they come and do their thing, and
They do their thing.
well, then, so every year they multiply on their own. I spent money once, and then that's it now. Don't have to anymore. They multiply. I should put a sign that like a donation, like whatever.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to donate any money at this point in time.
It's not a matter. It's the thought that you said the beautiful colors.
Yeah, I really like yellow.
Yeah, me too. Well, all colors are beautiful, but this is unique. And if you look at everybody else's garden, even if you have gardeners and you try to diversify, this starts a month ago. October will still be around. So they're compatible and they love it.
Do you know the Latin name?
No, it's Rudbeckia. But
I-
the Latin name I don't know, but it's Rudbeckia.
It probably has a long technical botanical.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Botanical.
Yeah, but that's not my domain. I wasn't good in school anyway, so I can't even read, let alone the Latin name. But you see, think of somebody.
Yeah.
Every plant, flower on earth, they have a unique Latin name to it, and there's a meaning when they multiply.
Yeah, and you have the kingdom, the domain,
Yeah, that's right. So all these
the classification.
Yes, thank you. Good word.
Okay.
I should put a sign up to give a bit of a donation. One person asked me, "You're beautiful colored yellow." I said, "I don't know. I'm colorblind."
Yeah, I really like the yellow.
Yeah, that's true.
It looks like a small sunflower almost.
Yes, and it's like it makes for if somebody wants to make how to put a painting, it's unique. But like I said, we bought them once. They made babies and they multiplied the perennials, and now guess what? They're all full. And next in the fall we cut them, and in the spring they grow back. So don't-
Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah. Well,
Anyways,
spend once and do it right. How do you like the 4 seasons that we have?
I enjoy. I don't mind heat waves. I don't mind heat
Well,
waves.
I was born where I'm looking forward to the next season. I don't know how people live at 100 degrees all the time, 12 months a year. No, but
Yeah, it's pretty fun for some.
well,
For some, depends on.
people, no, the majority of people don't like it because we're only 40 million from ocean to ocean to ocean. Millions of people below around the equator. I mean, but they love sun. I told my friends, I said, it's so hot, they're inside of air conditioning. I said, I'm in Canada. Hey, I have my natural
Yeah, it's. I haven't traveled much, to be honest. I pretty much know Canada, you know.
Were you born here?
I guess so.
No, well, some people are born in other countries. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, I wouldn't change it. Like you could, people go south, they do this, they do that. I said, hey,
Yeah.
I'll take a snowstorm anytime.
I don't mind snow.
Okay, be good. It's free showers until 9 o'clock. You have.
Oh, yeah.
Bye. Bye. Oh my gosh. Hi. My fellow aunties and uncles there, they came and they're there. Oh, that was a good laugh. Sometimes I don't get humor, but this one I got. As of Asperger, sometimes I don't get. Sometimes I don't get, you know. I don't get. Sometimes I don't get, you know, but yeah, you know, I'm Canadian. I got that Canada tatted up right there, and this is all what I remember Canada, pretty much, you know. Sometimes memory will come back, I guess, and I guess if I came here, I guess I was a child, and I have to find in my room of St. Temple my birth certificate. I can't find the birth certificate, and you know, maybe I was. So back to whatever he was saying there, and back to whatever he was saying there, whatever he was saying with that, and whatever he was saying with that, and gotta get that rock and roll, and you gotta get it for you, and he's there, and they're there, and they're working, and they're doing those. He's got a network, I guess. He just has friends in Ukraine, but that was funny. Sometimes I don't ask people don't get that humor, but this one with the shower, that was funny. So I guess my uncle or uncle there and aunties, and I got their backs, you know, and coast to coast, ocean to ocean, and that's lovely. And I do really love yellow flowers, as you can see. Past videos, I always stop, and even in my past videos, I mentioned that specific garden, but I never met the fellow citizen who's taking care of it, and now he smiled a little bit. The yellow flowers always give me a boost and a big smile, and made a little joke, which I understood. It's free showers until 9 o'clock. Sprinkling the water, I guess, for public hygiene, and that would be, but like makes me think of COVID there at times. And you know, I got triple vaxxed. That's 3 vaccines, and please, public hygiene protocols during COVID, I guess. We're restarting, I guess. I'm restarting myself. It's just I'm a weirdo, and that's what it is with that, and that's what we have to do, and that's what we have to get going with that, and that is something which we got to implement, you know, to be implementing in whatever the social dynamics which we are, and which we are, of course, at the domain, and which you like to work out, and like to exchange a few words with my fellow elderlies, because senior citizens, you people, not in that way, you people, all the citizens, our senior citizens, our family, my family, the senior citizens, you built this with a gratitude, with an acknowledgement, you know, that you built this, although millennials and Gen Z were struggling a lot, house affordability and what have you, but you know, the senior citizens, you build this, and I had enjoyed working in a CHSLD, you know. I had enjoyed working in a CHSLD, in a senior citizens home. I enjoyed working, and I enjoyed working in a CHSLD. I really enjoyed working there, and had a few months probation, but you know, Asperger's is a bit more difficult, because Aspies were weirdos, were not socially apt. I always try to practice. I'm getting better at it again, but it's friends with benefits only. So back to geopolitics, that's what I know, and that's what I'll stick to. So I predicted what's happening now back in 2019, but what I did not predict was, of course, that there's going to be a deterioration of relations, you know, that there's going to be a deterioration of relations between Canada and the United States. So this is new for me to take into account, right? I did not predict that there's going to be a deterioration of relations between Canada and the United States. What I did predict was that there's going to be an overall international conflagration, aka World War III type of scenario. That I predicted based on several levels of analysis. One of those analytical analysis levels was that due to mainly, in part, that there were unresolved conflicts dating from the 20th century, that these conflicts will recommence and restart in the 21st century. And for the most part, what do you see is exactly that geopolitical reality of these conflicts from the Cold War period, which lasted about 45 years. They lasted almost 45 years between March 1947 and December 1991. So almost 45 years. 44 years and 9 months. 44 years and 9 months. 44 years and 9 months. Almost 45 years. They lasted a long time, you know. They lasted a long time. They lasted a long time, you know. They lasted a long time, almost 45 years. So that is something which you have to take into account, you know. That is something which you have to take into account, that they lasted almost 45 years. 44 years and 9 months. I placed it between March 1947 and of course December 1991. You know, 1991. Of course. That's what it is, and that's what we got. So due, of course, to that fact, we have these conflicts. Russia-Ukraine is a conflict which dates from the 20th century. from the 20th century. Gotta dance a bit. From the 20th century, I did a little bit of steps and choreography with that. I love that. So of course, Russia-Ukraine is a conflict which dates from the second half, mostly, but the whole Cold War period, right? Because Russia and Ukraine were one united entity, several other countries together in the USSR. Potentially, of course, another conflict from the Cold War period is India-Pakistan, which last month almost went nuclear, eh? Because both have nuclear weapons, both India and Pakistan. Another conflict, Israel-Hamas, Israel, the Arab world. Hamas is an organization which was founded in the 1980s. Hamas was founded in the 80s. They only took power in June 2007. So it took them about 20 years until from their foundation to, of course, them taking power over the Gaza Strip. Not the West Bank. The Gaza Strip. The Gaza. Of course, that's a long time if you think about it. They were founded in around 1987, I believe. And they took power in about June 2007. What's called a few weeks of civil war. They had internal civil war with the Fatah organization. So as much as I know these conflicts, their ideologies, their philosophies, I remain a Quebecer, Canadian, North American. This is what I know. Montreal, the island of the hawk. Island of the hawk, you know. The island of the hawk, Montreal. This is basically what I know, you know. And this mountain is my second home where I love to come and I love to work out, and I love to work out here. I love to come here, and I love to relax, and I love to work out here. I love to come here, and I love to let my mane out a little bit. So back to 2019, I predicted what's happening now in a general manner. But what I did not predict was that there's gonna be a deterioration of relations with the United States, between Canada and the United States. So that I did not predict. Gonna let my man. Yeah, so I'm reaching my mistress. My mistress on the mountain. Mistress on the mountain. Not just mine, but I just love coming here, and I just feel so good. I'm like at home here, you know. It's like my second home, and you know, my cousin's there and going on the go, and that's what we have to be doing, and just love coming here, you know. Something which we have to be doing, you know, consequently and prudently, and that's what we have, you know. That's how we get that rock and roll, you know. And that's how we're gonna get that drill. A big smile, eh? Gotta thank Hydro-Quebec workers. Imagine, eh? All the work, eh? To have these lights. I only imagine in the 20th century how they, of course, built all the dams, you know, to have this clean, zero pollution, zero emission energy, you know, in the 20th century. And we need to build more dams, and this whole civilization, you know, is a privilege, you know. That was my thesis back in 2023, the privilege of civilization. And this light that you see here, and in my work tool, this smartphone, I'm doing this with zero pollution energy, eh? Because all our hydroelectricity comes from a combination of providentially one of those 63 dams of Hydro-Quebec built throughout the many decades of the 20th and even in the 21st century. Last few years ago, the new La Romaine complex was open, you know, so that's what I got, and that's what I gotta get that rock and roll. So of course our electricity also goes to 5 or 6 states, I believe, of course, all the way to Manhattan Island. It goes on those power lines. So civilization really is a privilege if you think about it, eh? That was my thesis back in 2023, the privilege of civilization. So back to my statement. Our main geopolitical interest as Canadians, and this is vice versa for the United States, and if you know me, you know that I was born in the United States 3 times. I served, once I was born a woman though, as I was born a woman here, 1688, 1688, 1688, in 1688, you know. In 1688, I lived between 1688 and 1735, you know, and that's how we got, and so we gotta get that drill. So between 1688 and 1735, you know, I lived here as a woman, you know, and I lived here as a woman, you know, and so now we get that 50-50, and in the USA I was born once as a woman, post 1776, post the declaration of the 13 original colonies independence, and twice was born as a man and served in the same United States Armed Forces, once as a man, twice as a woman. And I'm just curious on the heat wave how many people came. So usually we enter into darkness, and now we're gonna stay on the light side, you know, and this is where we're gonna stay usually. We go inside deep by that way, and that way we're gonna go on the side, but this time we're just gonna go on the side here and lock it in and clicking in and out and discuss the DRT. So our main interest is to have the best, most cordial economic, social, financial, military, political, defense relations with the United States. So that is just a constant, just like the pi symbol. Just like the pi symbol, just like the pi symbol. The pi, of course, represents the representation, of course, of the pi symbol is, of course, 3.1416, of course, and that's all we got, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and that's how we gotta get on that love, you know. So, of course, that representation is, of course, the mathematical representation for the calculation of that 3.14, of course, which we gotta get it on the go. That's how we gotta get doing on that, you know. So, something which we have to get on the loving side of things, and we gotta get comprehending as much as possible, of course, that we gotta, of course, fully integrate, and we gotta get on that go, you know. That's how I gotta get doing with that, and that's how I gotta get doing on the go, you know, to getting on the drill, to get it on the left and on the right, and we gotta get it on that, you know. So that's, of course, the DRT. We gotta get it on that XYZ, you know, for the left or for the right, and for the do and for the dance, and that's how we gotta get doing on that, you know. Déjà, c'est pas ça. That's what it is. So that is our main interest. Regardless of anything exterior, that has to be incorporated in all our dealings, whether on the right or on the left, and in the center, you know. That is just what it is with that, and that is just how we have to proceed, you know. That is just how we have to proceed, you know. And that's what we have, you know. That's what it is with that, and that's why you gotta get on that go, to getting on this knowledge, full knowledge, of course, and full knowledge that, of course, it is so, and of course, being is so, is of course the full knowledge and implementation of everything that we're gonna do afterwards. That is of course so, that is of course so. So then we can move forward. Once you have of course acknowledged. Once we have of course acknowledged, once we have of course acknowledged that is so. That's nice music. What? Yeah, so there we have to acknowledge that point. Because if we don't, then we cannot move forward. So regardless of anything exterior to that, our main interest is to have the best, most cordial relations with each other, the United States. Regardless of everything else. That is just the reality. You cannot negotiate with that. It's a non-negotiable. What? So then we can proceed further. So that is just the co-equivalence. So that's just the constant.
Has been taught by you.
That means that I sent you
You know what? Yeah, I sent it to me today. I'm like, why did people keep telling me?
Fake laughter sometimes, you can detect.
So what I said.
You can detect fake laughter, Fake laughter. Oh, it feels forced. Laughter feels forced, feels fake. So you don't gotta fake it. You don't gotta. Hee hee hee. I'm gonna show you. So basically, that is of course what it is. You cannot argue with that. I just had somebody telling me, because I was listening to some Tom Clancy books, and it was one time I said I can detect false laughter. That's why it came to mind that I guess maybe during sleep I was listening to audiobooks during my sleep, and one of them was Tom Clancy came after Arthur C. Clarke, and I woke up and I said, oh, it's Tom Clancy. It's like 4 hours in, and that phrase kind of came, says I can detect false laughter. Where is that, in which Tom Clancy book? Whatever it is, I guess Tom Clancy would agree with this statement. Now for us, Canada, United States, our main interest when it comes to geopolitics is to have the best, most cordial relations with the United States. Economic, financial, commercial, military relations with the United States. You cannot negotiate with that. You cannot negotiate with that. You cannot negotiate. You cannot say no. You cannot say maybe. You have to say yes, 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 yes. You know? So you cannot say no. You have to say yes in the positive. Because it is so. It's a constant geopolitical, philosophical, political reality. When it comes to foreign affairs, that is just what you have to do. That is just what you have to do. So that is, of course, the area, the whole reality and the whole truth of what it is in the inclination of we're gonna drink some water here, hydrate. So that is gonna be the statement again. Well, the pipes are clear because you got that rust. Thank you, workers who built it, geniuses who built it, brought it all the way at top of the mountain for me to drink water, and that's what it is, and that's where we're gonna get that hydration, and that's what we're gonna discuss. So of course, that is something which we have to complement on the go on and on the do, and that is something which we have to complement each other in the spheres of all the geopolitical theorizing and analysis, and all the geopolitical theorizing and analysis which we have, of course, to the complement of each other. That our main interest, it is of course to have the best, most cordial economic, social, financial, military, social, cultural, defensive strategies by national Canada versus Canada vis-a-vis the United States, and the United States vis-a-vis us. It's a constant, just like the pi symbol, which represents the pi, of course, the numerical value 3.1416, which is the ratio of the circle and of course the circumference, and it has of course to be noted so that of course is a constant which just does not change. So such has been the unchanging geopolitical reality for us vis-a-vis the United States and the vis-a-vis us, that our primary importance and number one importance when it comes to, of course, we could put it in a factorial hierarchical manner, that is what we all, from the left, from the right, from the center right and center left. I'm not addressing the extreme far left or far right here. Hydrate. Oh yeah, so that is just the constant reality. It is so, it has been so, and it will be so, of course, in the future. So that's, and now I'm going to discuss what's important for me to discuss, the DRT, debt refusion theory. Super important that you pay full attention to the DRT, because it is the solution to where we're going to head next in terms of the solution for the main problems which we have with each other, and of course the problems which we have vis-a-vis. You see, that's the moon. Tomorrow's full moon, so Tomorrow maybe we're gonna come and do a full moon dance. Look at that. That's the full moon. Oh, I see a bat. It's a good up. Bless my allies and armies. Pledge your legions. That's the full moon. Goddess bless. Special pre-moon march today. Special full moon march today. So that's what we have, and that's how we're gonna get that rock and roll. So of course there's something which we have, of course, in the geopolitical strategies, of course, which you gotta be implementing together, you know. That is just what we have to be doing on that, you know, and the categorization of the side of the things where we have to implement all the policies which are related to the DRT. So what is the DRT? Debt refusion theory. The DRT stands for D for debt, R for refusion, T for theory. Why do I make the statement that it is the only solution, or something very similar to my DRT is the solution vis-a-vis our economic, social problems for both Canada and the United States? And of course the debt refusion theory is part of what I call the bipolar geopolitical strategy for the total BDD, benevolent dominance and dominion of the world. Benevolent dominance and dominion of the world by the fusion of Canada and the United States into the imperial complex via the DRT and the signing of the new fusion of the Constitution, be it the Imperial Republican Constitution. The Imperial Republican Constitution to fuse the constitutions for the creation of the two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions, and of course that's what we gotta do. So of course we gotta get on that DRT, debt refusion theory, the debt refusion theory for the collective of course of the civilizational complex, and that's how we got, and that's how we got on the love, and the DRT, the debt refusion theory, gonna getting on those drills and getting on those loves, you know. So that's how we have to be doing to that, and we're gonna have to be doing now. So because four main problems affect us. One, the growing cost of rents. Two, the growing cost of food, basic items like food, the cost of living basically, and these you can place in whatever order you want. Three, the stagnation of the salaries, and four, the giving some people now they're maxing out their credit cards. Maybe they got, I don't have a credit card myself, I have a credit line. I got no credit cards, I have a credit line. And that's why we gotta get that rock and roll, and that's why we're gonna get it out of the way for them to get it on the drill, and that's why we're gonna get on that road, man. Get it on the road and on our good bikes, man. That's a little bit of fun. Good for you. Stay safe, and that's how we got, and that's how we good, and that's how we gotta get doing with that, and you know, get some health kit, you know, helmet, and have fun here on the mountain. That's what I love to see, people having fun and expressing their liberty and security, and mixing some sports and fitness and loving, and look out for each other, you know. So the DRT, the debt refusion theory, of course those four economic problems affect both Canadians, the majority of the Canadians, and my brothers and sisters in the United States in whatever manner. It doesn't have to be in that specific order, but of course in whatever order you place it, it is so generally so, right? Generally. So in a general manner it is so. But it can be different for different individual sovereign citizens. But these four, again, problems, economic problems, make it that my DRT theory is the only solution, or something, not necessarily the only solution is my DRT, but it's not something which resembles my DRT theory is the solution. It has to resemble in fundamental principles, it has to resemble, right? So we have now the growing rents. My rent increased between $6 minimum and $10 maximum. So I'm not going to say if it was either 6 or 10 or in between. I'm just going to say that I cannot complain, because I find it acceptable for my case, because every year it has increased for the past few years, but during COVID, but I cannot complain myself, because it is within the means and it is within what I can accept. I cannot complain. So the growing cost of rent, others though, because me it's below what's allowed basically, and even below what's maximum allowed here in Montreal by the regulation of the housing and with the bureaucracy which we have. So the growing cost of rents are going up. Cost of living, the cost of bread, cheese, butter, edibles, you know, groceries, even my wafers, they're going up. The stagnation of the salaries, and of course the stagnation of the salaries and the growing indebtedness, credit cards. record-breaking credit card debt for both Canada and the United States is now a reality. Every year we see, every month, every quarter, we see that there's a growing credit card debt. So that's why I make the statement that it is my DRT theory, which is the solution, and the debt refusion theory. DRT stands for D, debt or refusion T theory. It includes monetary integration theory, and here we are at a beautiful, beautiful place. And that pyramid, that's my favorite skyscrapers. I'm just gonna stretch a bit here. You know, you see, I don't know if you can see it or you can hear that. I'm just gonna stretch my legs a bit, go up and down, and we're gonna look at that moon. That's the moon. It's getting fuller and fuller and fuller. Tomorrow full moon commences. This is a pre-full moon, and I guess we got those Alouettes. Is the Alouettes playing over there? I love sports, love fitness. If I could afford, I would go to see the Alouettes, the Habs, and the Victory, PVHL, Professional Women's Hockey League. Look at another bat. That's a good omen for me. So the DRT explained now. I'm gonna commence explaining. Gonna stretch for 44 seconds, and then we're gonna head back to my headquarters and speak a little bit of that French because we're liable, Privee. So the DRT explained. It integrates inside the DRT. The integration inside the debt refusion theory is integrated what's called monetary integration theory, which was the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. The European Union, of course, in the 90s, they destroyed their national central banks. They destroyed their national central banks in the 90s. They created the ECB, the European Central Bank, of course. In the 90s, they created the ECB. They destroyed their national central banks, the Germans, the Italians, the French, and the Belgians, and other countries in Europe, and they created a common bank, you know, the ECB, the common bank. European Central Bank for many countries. So they destroyed their national currencies in the 90s, and their national central banks, they no longer have national central banks like they did before. So my DRT includes the monetary integration theory. So we're going to take all the public and the private debt, my $10,000, your $10,000, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, all the public and the private debt, we're going to convert it into US dollars. All that money, we're going to add it all up. We're going to add it all the public and the private debt of the USA. So we're going to create a new central bank, the Imperial Central Bank, whatever we call it, the Imperial Central Bank, Imperial Republican Central Bank of Canada and United States. We could enlarge it with Mexico, Haiti, and all the countries in North America, which includes paradoxically Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and the islands. So we're going to create this Imperial Republican Central Bank by fusing Canada and United States. We're going to create the UE, U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.UE, the U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.UE, the U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.UE, the UE will have the value of the US dollar. So the U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.UE. The universal exchange unit is going to have the value of the US dollar. The value of the US dollar, we're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. It cannot be more than 10%. It can be 10%. Below that, it could be, but not more than 10% thereafter, and all loans thereafter. So there's going to be a new financial world order, North American centric, of course, by fusing Canada and United States into this Imperial Republican complex. And of course, we're going to mass finance citizens' fitness, mass finance the building of the construction of those 44 tunnels in case of a thermonuclear war. And that's my favorite skyscraper. 44 mass cities with tunnel-like structures, underground tunnel-like structure, the mass cities which we're going to build together in case of a thermonuclear war. And that's just what we're going to have to be doing, and that's what we're going to have to get on the building of those 44 mass across the 10 provinces, 50 states, 3 territories, across the 63 new superstates, which we're going to fuse by the creation of the DRT, by the implementation of my debt refusion theory and the creation of the UE. We're going to make a census, give some amnesty to the population, of course, who's been living in both Canada and the United States in the past 7 years and who don't have a extensive criminal record. If you have an extensive 44 convictions since 2014, you know, in 11 years, you've been convicted 44 times. I mean, more than average 4.4 times annually, I guess. Then we can have a problem and say, you know, that's something we cannot do further proceed. But for the North American Criminal Rehabilitation Act, Imperial Republican Criminal Rehabilitation Act for our empire, as we're going to move towards, of course, building these 44 mass tunnels, city tunnels, with big underground subterranean cities and mass subterranean cities with massive, of course, tunnel structures in case of a thermonuclear war across North America. We're going to mass finance it by the DRT. We're going to get rid of the border, do a census, create a census, and create a common currency. create a common currency, a common passport, and of course we're gonna mass finance citizens fitness. We're gonna open up, of course, get rid of the border, mass finance social housing, mass finance intra-North American imperial tourism, build the 4 on the Canadian-US border. We're gonna build, of course, the most biggest ever sports arena complex ever built, 11 times to be bigger than the Caesar Super Bowl, where my 49ers lost in Super Bowl 47, which has several nicknames known as Hardball Ball, aka Blackout Ball, and of course the biggest structure ever in terms of sports for sporters in perpetuities. We're gonna build the biggest forgotten goddess GODDSS temple, the Forgotten Goddess Temple, of course, to be 11 times bigger than the 11 times bigger than the what's the name of the oratory in Quebec, Montreal, the oratory, 11 times the Forgotten Goddess Temple, the pyramid, House of the Dragon, scarlet red, the pyramid, scarlet red, crimson and scarlet are shades of red, and that's what we're going to be building, of course, that pyramid, which we're going to be House of the Dragon, and of course the Forgotten Goddess Temple, the North American People's Imperial Republican People's Coliseum on the Canadian-US border, which me and Donald Trump are going to inaugurate it, and the Rainbow People's Palace. And now we head back to my headquarters. Pledge your allegiance, support a dream. That is basically the dream for the North American Collective, for the development thereof. It's something which we have to implement, and as we go here now, gonna get on that drill, and you gotta be careful here on the steps because it's very steep, and you gotta be careful when you come, and it's very steep here. I'm gonna warn them that it's very steep and profond. You gotta be careful. Careful, guys, it's very steep there, eh?
Okay, thank you.
C'est profond, c'est en pente. Bienvenue. Welcome. So I gotta let them know, that's very steep if they don't know, because I don't want anybody getting hurt on my mountain, and it's very steep, so you gotta give it on that go and give it on the go. They're doing some loving there and doing some of that good drill and giving some of that good XYZ with that, and then some of that good couples, I guess, I'm assuming, or siblings. They were holding hands, and it's night, so that's a part there where I was. When you go, it's very steep, so if you don't know, just to let them know, well, they have the light, because this is my second home, and I gotta let people know, because I know the mountain, eh? So I come here, I don't need really a light myself, but I got a little bit of the cell phone light, but it's not like a light. Maybe next time I'll bring it. Maybe tomorrow if I come for the full moon, I'll do the dance. My head. Bring some music along, and bring some music with it, and gotta get it on, and gotta get it now, and gotta get it for the rehabilitation, and gotta get it for the drill. And that's what we are here, we're a collective civilizational complex, and we gotta look out for each other, and as much as we can, we gotta get some of that loving, and we gotta get a little of that French, because we're in La Belle Province now, so I'm gonna spit it a bit in French, and then we're gonna rock and roll it back to my headquarters while say, sing some of that cadence, rock and roll Draconomic cadence. Yep, hot. Alright, let's do it. French, because we're in La Belle Province. Bienvenue, Québécois et Québécoises. On est déjà sur la montagne, donc je vous encourage à faire de l'entraînement physique. Je pense que c'est les Alouettes qui viennent jouer. Moi, je viens à la montagne, ma deuxième maison. C'est vendredi avant le sabbat, puis demain, c'est la pleine lune. Du nettoyage. Je suis content. Mon ami anonyme a acheté un nouveau balai, puis un nouveau balai qui est propre, bien sûr, que ça a bien à faire pour avoir des beaux outils de travail quand on fait le ménage, puis ça en fait bien du bien pour faire du balai plus souvent, parce que c'est super important, bien sûr, de garder puis faire un balai, parce que c'est du nettoyage, c'est important. Puis moi, bien sûr, avec l'Asperger's, vous savez que ces choses-là, des fois, j'ai une routine, je les fais les vendredis, je devrais les faire plus, mais c'est les problèmes chez nous. Moi, je ne requiers pas beaucoup de soutien, c'est juste que dans certaines choses, j'ai tendance à négliger, tu sais. Nous, les Asperger's, les Aspies, on néglige certaines choses, bien sûr, quand ça vient, bien sûr, on néglige certaines choses du quotidien, tu sais. Puis encore une fois, je suis pas une maladie, hein. C'est pas une maladie, l'Asperger, je suis différent, mais c'est pas une maladie, fait que je le répète, je le dis souvent, puis je dois le dire, puis je vais en parler un peu parce que ça fait partie de qu'est-ce que je suis, puis qu'est-ce que je dois travailler moi-même, puis qu'est-ce que vous devez prendre conscience que dans certaines choses, je suis pas bon, dans certaines choses, j'ai de la misère moi-même, tu sais, dans la compréhension sociale. C'est sûr, bien sûr que nous, les Aspergers, on a plus de la misère dans certaines choses que dans d'autres choses pour les faire, bien sûr, de l'avoir une histoire, de vivre, bien sûr, ensemble. C'est sûr qu'il faut qu'on fasse des ententes. Puis là, que je suis moi-même sur la montagne, dans la profondeur des ténèbres, ma maîtresse, ma deuxième maison, c'est pas juste la mienne. Fait que il faut que je fasse attention quand je vois les autres citoyens et citoyennes qui s'aventurent dans la forêt où je suis moi-même maintenant, que je le dise, qu'il faut qu'ils fassent attention s'ils commencent à vanter, car des fois les arbres, les branches tombent. Fait qu'il faut faire attention. Bon, vis-à-vis de l'Asperger, l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, aussi connu comme l'Asperger, j'utilise les deux. L'Asperger, c'est une condition neurologique dont moi je suis atteint. Fait que, à cause de cette condition neurodivergence, qui n'est pas une maladie, puis avant-hier, justement, mardi, j'étais dans un supermarché, j'avais parlé avec un citoyen, puis on discutait, puis on parlait, bien sûr, on avait discuté des prix du café, puis on disait, bon, je n'ai jamais acheté, puis moi non plus, puis c'était en spécial, puis on a décidé d'acheter ces paquets c'est du café instantané. C'est du café instantané dont je vous parle. Fait qu'on parlait un peu de ça. Puis j'ai fait mention que j'ai l'Asperger's parce que j'ai remarqué, je me suis approché proche de ce citoyen. Je ne sais pas si c'était un citoyen ou non, là, peut-être pas, là, peut-être qu'il était en visite, mais bon. J'ai pris un pas à part, puis là, j'ai remarqué, puis j'ai dit, ben, c'est sûr que, tu sais, en tant qu'Asperger's, des fois, on a tendance à s'approcher trop proche des citoyens quand on leur parle. Tu sais, à briser l'espace personnel, tu sais, qui est d'à peu près 2-3 pieds, là, mais on a tendance à briser ces normes non écrites. Tu sais, on a de la misère dans ces normes non écrites de la société, des fois. La manière qu'on communique un peu, ça peut être un peu bizarre, étrange, de manière plus intellectuelle ou formelle, des fois, dans ce point où qu'on se présente, tu sais. Fait que, juste pour dire, dans ce point de vue aussi, où que moi-même je suis, ou que moi-même je suis intégralement, dans ce point bien sûr que je le fais, c'est que moi, avec l'Asperger's, bien sûr, c'est des choses qu'on a de la misère. Fait que j'ai dit que j'avais l'Asperger's, puis il a dit, ah oui, je connais la maladie, j'ai entendu parler, je connais un peu de cette maladie, il a dit. En anglais, il a dit disease, donc c'est maladie, puis j'ai dit non, c'est pas une maladie. Fait que là, il a pris pause, puis il s'est autocorrigé, genre. Il a dit, ah ouais, c'est pas vraiment une maladie. Puis je dis, non, c'est pas une maladie, pas du tout. C'est pas du tout une maladie. C'est une condition de neurodivergence. Ça fait que oui, dans certaines choses, on peut être moins capable. On a de la misère, mais c'est pas une maladie, vous comprenez? Je suis pas une maladie moi-même. C'est le cerveau, au niveau microscopique, nano, il y a des mutations, tu sais. Au niveau microscopique, nano, ben, ça a des mutations. Ça a des mutations, fait qu'à ce niveau microscopique, ça a certaines mutations, vous comprenez? Fait qu'à cause de ces mutations, nous, on voit le monde différemment. On voit le monde différemment, puis on fait aussi, hein, il n'y a pas beaucoup d'Asperger's dans le monde. Ma communauté d'Asperger, c'est moins d'1%, moins de la moitié d'un pourcentage, c'est 0,44%. 0,44%. Fait qu'il n'y a pas beaucoup d'Asperger's dans le monde. Vous comprenez? Il n'y a pas beaucoup d'Asperger's dans le monde. Il n'y a pas ben des Asperger's dans le monde. Il n'y en a pas beaucoup, dans le fond, des Asperger's. Vous comprenez? Il n'y a pas ben. Fait que c'est pour ça, fait que on a de la misère dans certaines choses. Compréhension non verbale, fait que ces choses-là. Fait qu'il s'est autocorrigé, fait que c'est quand même bon, une autocorrection. Tu sais, des fois moi-même, il y a tellement de choses que je ne sais pas. Mais nous, des fois, on peut dire des choses directement. On peut offenser, on peut leur dire des choses directement. Fait que les gens peuvent s'offenser un peu. Fait que tant qu'on dit les choses directement, ou on peut offenser. Mais c'est pas par volonté qu'on veut offenser, c'est juste des fois c'est ça qu'on est. Fait que on fait dans la chose. Bien sûr qu'il faut qu'on les fasse. Fait que faut qu'on s'autocorrige, bien sûr, dans ce point de convergence pour être de la manière qu'on soit aujourd'hui, bien sûr. Aujourd'hui, de le faire, bien sûr, dans ce point de concordance où qu'on est rendu à le faire, dans ce travail ensemble, tu sais, dans ce travail ensemble. Parce qu'il faut qu'on travaille ensemble, il faut qu'on construise, qu'on bâtit des ponts, on veut pas. Soit des petits ponts, des ponts moyens, des ponts larges ou des ponts extra larges. Dans ces 4 catégories, là, c'est sûr qu'il peut en avoir des sous-catégories, 4 par 4. 4 catégories générales, ben je parle bien sûr, tu sais, quand on fait une commande d'un café ou des frites, c'est des fois un petit café qu'on commande, un café moyen, un café large ou un extra large. Dans ces 4 catégories, il peut en avoir 4 sous-catégories. Fait que dans d'autres mots, on doit bâtir des ponts de différentes grandeurs. Plus petits, plus moyens, des petits, des larges, des extra larges des fois. Vis-à-vis moi que je dois les bâtir, en étant un citoyen souverain, qui fait partie de cette communauté de neurodivergents nommés les Aspergers, avec vous. Vous comprenez? Fait qu'on doit toujours bâtir ces ponts ensemble. Parce que moi, j'ai pas d'antagonisme, j'ai pas de relation antagoniste. J'ai pas de relation antagoniste envers vous. Vous comprenez? J'ai pas de relation antagoniste. J'ai pas de sentiment antagoniste. J'ai pas de relation antagoniste. J'ai pas de mauvaise volonté envers vous, les neurotypiques. 99,56%, on doit bâtir des ponts, puis on a de quoi offrir nous autres aussi, vous comprenez? C'est ça, dans d'autres choses, on a de la misère. Là, les 3 problèmes des Asperger chez nous, c'est 3 problèmes majeurs. Le manque d'amis. On n'a pas beaucoup d'amis, nous. On a de la misère à les garder à cause de cette différence qui, des fois, peut être très intense. T'sais. Fait que le manque d'amis, la solution pour moi, je vous dis, je ne veux pas perdre le temps de personne. Hein. Pas perdre votre temps, perdez pas le mien. Des amis avec bénéfice seulement. Vous êtes noir, vous êtes blanc, je fais partie de la communauté LGBTQ, je suis androgyne, pansexuel. Messieurs, madame, androgyne, pansexuel. Messieurs, madame, je suis androgyne, pansexuel. Messieurs, madame, 50-50, à cause de mes réincarnations. Là. Des fois, j'ai été né homme, femme. Aux États-Unis, j'ai été né 3 fois après 1776, comme j'ai vécu en tant que femme ici, québécoise, entre 1688 et 1735. Entre 1688 et 1735. Fait qu'à cause de ces réincarnations, maintenant, mais vous avez monsieur, madame, 50-50. Si vous êtes noir, blanche, homme, femme, noir, blanc, arc-en-ciel, vous voulez me faire l'amour, mais je vous carte, hein, comme quand vous allez acheter le cannabis, là, SQDC, donc vous allez acheter le liqueur dans un bar. C'est la même chose que je veux procéder. Fait que je ne veux pas perdre votre temps, mais perdre des palmiers, des amis avec bénéfice seulement, that's it, that's all. Je suis ouvert pour le travail, j'adore la danse. Hein. Quand je danse, vous allez me laisser tranquille, je danse comme la prêtresse de la déesse oubliée du déesse, ma spiritualité mystique un peu rock'n'roll. Hein. Thelemik, quoi que ce soit. Que je vous chante une chanson, ça, je peux le faire. Le rock'n'roll, je suis capable. J'en compose des chansons au quotidien. De la danse, j'en compose. Des chansons rock'n'roll, j'en compose au quotidien. Je suis bon au rock'n'roll, je suis bon à l'entraînement physique, à la danse. J'ai ces intérêts spéciaux. Ma trinité, les Aspergers, on a des intérêts spéciaux, aussi connus comme obsessifs. Ça peut être intense, on peut être super dedans, super concentré, super. On dédie notre temps, là, pas mal. Notre quotidien se tourne vraiment autour de ces routines rituelles, là, un peu des rituels de routine, là, des routines comme rituels, on s'engage avec intensité et concentration dans ces intérêts spéciaux. Pour moi, bien sûr, c'est l'entraînement physique. Quand je fais ces marches d'entraînement physique, quand je danse, je fais de la chorégraphie de danse, j'en fais la création. Dans ma tête, des fois, avec moi-même, mon corps corporel, et bien sûr, le rock'n'roll et la géopolitique. La géopolitique. Là, je vais parler de de la géopolitique maintenant. Parce que c'est ça mon intérêt spécial. Je suis moi-même un artiste, athlète et philosophe, analyste, théoricien, penseur et stratège en géopolitique indépendant. Stratège en géopolitique indépendant. D'autres choses, j'ai de la misère. Comme je vous ai dit, amis avec bénéfice, ou prêtez allégeance légion, vous êtes famille. Là, je suis rentré dans la géopolitique, c'est ça que je suis bon dans ça. Nous, les Aspergers, on a ces intérêts spéciaux, on peut être très bon dans ça, mais on n'est pas si bon dans d'autres choses. Car, à cause de ces intérêts spéciaux, je suis connu comme obsessif, ça ne rend pas justice pour moi d'utiliser le mot obsessif par la terminologie que c'est pas une obsession dans le temps que vous avez des obsessions, les neurotypiques, vis-à-vis comment que nous, on voit et on existe dans le monde. Laissez vos bagages dehors, on rentre dans la géopolitique. En 2019, je vous retourne dans le tas, j'ai la preuve pour cette déclaration que je vais faire. J'ai la preuve. Fait que j'ai la preuve pour ça. J'ai la preuve. Moi, en 2019, en octobre, en novembre, j'ai prévu qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale. Okay? Une conflagration internationale. Une conflagration internationale. J'ai prévu en octobre 2019 qu'il y aura une conflagration, qu'il y aura comme une conflagration internationale. C'est ça que j'avais prévu en 2019, en octobre, en novembre. Qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale. Vous comprenez? Conflagration internationale. J'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant en octobre, en novembre 2019. En octobre, en novembre 2019. 2019, en octobre, en novembre 2019. J'ai prévu la situation qui se passe en ce moment. En octobre, novembre 2019. J'ai la preuve, j'ai les vidéos en ligne de la Troisième Guerre mondiale que j'avais prévues moi-même en 2019. Octobre, novembre 2019. Fait que j'ai prévu celle-là. Okay? J'avais prévu ça. Qu'est-ce que j'ai pas prévu par contre, puis qu'est-ce qui est nouveau pour moi-même, c'est que bien sûr, il y aura... J'ai pas prévu la détérioration des relations. La détérioration des relations avec les États-Unis. Ça, c'est nouveau que je dois prendre en considération. Puis ça m'alarme moi-même. J'ai des frissons quand je parle. Puis c'est sérieux, il faut prendre ça au sérieux. Là, je vais faire que j'ai dit, bien sûr, qu'en octobre, novembre, j'ai prévu qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale. J'ai la preuve, j'ai même créé un système d'entraînement physique pour y aller avec cette condition de Troisième Guerre mondiale. Donc, je suis fier d'avoir créé moi-même. Fait que là, en vous disant ça, je vous dis bien sûr une autre déclaration que vous devrez vous-même dire oui, 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 oui dans l'affirmatif. Vous pouvez pas, cette prochaine déclaration de la géopolitique est non négociable. Il faut que ça soit affirmé dans le positif. Vous ne pouvez pas dire non et vous ne pouvez pas dire peut-être. Vous ne pouvez pas dire peut-être non plus. Vous devrez dire oui. Okay? Nous, là, le Québec, le Canadien, les Canadiens et les Québécois, c'est réciproque les États-Unis envers nous. Nous, il faut qu'on vise à avoir les meilleures relations. En première importance, quand ça vient pour faire de la classification en termes d'importance, nous, il faut qu'on vise à avoir les meilleures relations économiques, financières, sociales, militaires, sur tous les niveaux, avec les États-Unis en première place, quand ça vient de la politique externe. Je ne parle pas de domestique, là. Je parle de l'extérieur, en première place, comme priorité qu'on soit de la gauche, de la droite, du centre-droite, du centre-gauche. C'est sûr que je ne discute pas les extrêmes, là. L'extrême droite, l'extrême gauche, là. Du centre, centre-droite, centre-gauche, gauche et la droite. Là, il faut que vous dites oui. C'est de même depuis plus que 75 ans, puis ça, c'est un principe. Comme le symbole pi, tu sais, le N a deux têtes, a deux faces. Il représente toujours le symbole N, qui représente la proportion mathématique du cercle. Ça, c'est la Lune, ça, que vous voyez maintenant dans la caméra. Du cercle et de la circonférence et le diamètre du cercle relatif. C'est 3,1415, ça continue à l'infini, puis c'est toujours une constance. Ça, c'est constamment la même chose. Ça ne change pas. C'est ça, cette déclaration que nous, là, le Canada envers les États-Unis, puis c'est aussi pour les États-Unis envers nous, c'est réciproque. Il faut qu'on soit sur la même longueur d'onde, la même fréquence, que notre intérêt principalement, là, c'est d'avoir les meilleures relations réciproques, nous envers eux, eux autres envers nous. Il n'y a pas de non à ça, il n'y a pas de peut-être, vous comprenez? On ne peut pas négocier avec ce principe mathématique. On peut juste dire oui. On ne peut pas dire non à ça. On ne peut pas dire non à ça, on peut juste dire oui. Il n'y a pas de non à ça. C'est une constance, ça a été de même depuis ben, la chute, un peu de la chute de l'Empire britannique, là, depuis la Deuxième Guerre mondiale, depuis plus que 75 ans. Et c'est de même dans le 21e siècle, ça a été comme ça pendant plus que 75 ans. C'est de même aujourd'hui, puis ça sera de même pendant bien des décennies avant qu'on soit qu'on parle dans une confédération internationale un peu dans le genre de la science-fiction, là, un gouvernement mondial, là, mais là, dans le futur, pour l'instant, c'est le même. Puis j'ai prévu qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant. Comme j'ai dit, j'ai la preuve, j'ai les vidéos en ligne. J'avais prévu depuis octobre 2019, je sonne l'alarme qu'il y aura une conflagration internationale vis-à-vis qu'il y a bien des conflits qui n'ont pas eu de résolution, qui datent de la guerre froide qui a duré entre 1947 et 1991, mars 1947 et fin décembre 1981, ça fait quasiment 45 ans. Officiellement, 44 ans et 9 mois, c'est longtemps ça. Proche de 45 ans, la guerre froide a duré. Puis ces conflits-là qu'on voit, l'Ukraine et la Russie, c'est des conflits du 20e, qui datent de la guerre froide. Israël-Hamas, ça date de la guerre froide. La Chine puis le Taïwan, ça date de la guerre froide aussi. Depuis la fondation de la Chine en 1949, officiellement en octobre. L'Inde et le Pakistan, c'est un autre conflit qui date de la guerre froide, qui a duré entre 1947 et 1991. C'est que ça quasiment 45 ans. Il y en a qui disent 45 ans, là, parce qu'il y en a qui disent que la guerre froide a commencé mais en 1946. Il y en a qui disent 1945, il y en a même qui disent 1947. Moi, je dis, ben, je m'entends du mois de mars 1947 à la fin de décembre 1991. Fait qu'on peut négocier un peu quand même. Fait qu'il faut qu'on ait les meilleures relations avec les États-Unis, ça, on ne peut pas négocier celle-là. Vous comprenez? C'est oui. Il faut que vous dites oui. C'est ça notre intérêt principal quand ça vient à la politique externe. N'importe quels soient les autres. C'est comme ça à cause de la géographie, de côte à côte, l'Atlantique puis le Pacifique. L'Atlantique puis le Pacifique, de côte à côte, c'est comme ça à cause de notre histoire puis notre destin commun. En tant qu'on est une nouvelle civilisation émergente, un collectif de civilisation émergente qui n'est pas tout à fait divorcé, mais on a des distinctions avec l'Occident. On a des distinctions, on est des Nord-Américains. Je dis souvent, je suis Nord-Américain, Québécois, Canadien. Personnellement, je ne me considère pas en étant qu'un membre d'un diaspora. C'est chez nous ici, Amérique du Nord. Puis bien sûr, ma vision pour la fusion du Canada et des États-Unis, c'est la meilleure d'un partenariat public-privé pour la fusion fondant une constitution impériale républicaine commune. Puis ma TRD, que je vais vous discuter maintenant, la TRD, parce qu'il faut qu'on se trouve des solutions. Fait que nous, là, il faut qu'on soit aussi réaliste que entre 75 et 90% de nos exportations s'en vont aux États-Unis. On ne peut pas remplacer un marché de même. Si l'Union européenne avec l'Allemagne aussi en difficulté, l'engin principal économique, soit les Allemands, l'Allemagne, ils sont en difficulté aussi. C'est sûr que il faut être réaliste. Puis déjà, ça nous touche les tarifs. Puis qu'est-ce que ça m'inquiète? Au point que j'ai des frissons, là, depuis vendredi passé, là, ça fait une semaine, on est le 8 août aujourd'hui. La semaine passée, on était le 1er août. On est désigné là, comme une menace hors commun extraordinaire, le Canada. Hey? Puis même s'il n'y a pas tant de fentanyl en tant que pourcentage qui passe, ils disent que ça a augmenté 3 fois plus que l'année passée. Cette année, ça a passé la frontière du fentanyl. Ça dit sur le site officiel de la Maison-Blanche, la déclaration de l'administration de Trump et du président Trump officiel, là, la lettre officielle en vie. Pourquoi? Qui ont augmenté les tarifs de 25% à 35%. C'est à cause que le fentanyl a trippé, puis ils nous reprochent qu'on n'a pas coordonné nos forces de police. Puis la GRC, bien sûr, la Gendarmerie royale, notre police fédérale, c'est équivalent au Bureau fédéral d'enquête, qu'est-ce qu'on appelle le FBI, la police fédérale des États-Unis, puis les autres organismes de police. Puis la GRC, ça fait des années qu'ils nous avertissent qu'au Canada, il y a de plus en plus d'organismes de crimes, des syndicats transnationaux qui viennent d'ailleurs, qui s'établissent. Ça fait des années que la GRC ils nous avertissent, hein? Si vous regardez dans les documents depuis plus que 7 ans, 5 ans, juste avant la COVID et durant la COVID, qu'il y a de plus en plus d'organismes et de syndicats transnationaux qui s'incorporent au Canada. Vous comprenez? Ils nous avertissent, la GRC nous ont avertis. Puis qu'est-ce qu'on a vu l'année passée, le 24 octobre 2024? L'année passée, 24 octobre, le plus grand super laboratoire de production de drogue qui était dirigé par un organisme transnational criminel, organisation transnationale criminelle, qui a été démantelé puis qui ont poigné 95 millions de pilules de fentanyl. 95 millions de pilules de fentanyl. Ça a été capable de tuer, ils disent ça dans la déclaration officielle du 31 octobre l'année passée, une semaine après la saisie, que ces pilules de fentanyl, ils auraient pu tuer la population canadienne 2 fois plus. Fait qu'on est, on va dire on est 44 millions, que fois 2, c'est 88 millions en potentiel des doses mortelles qui auraient pu causer des décès, des morts, des overdoses, des surdoses, là. C'est sérieux, là. Vous comprenez qu'on est dans un point d'avoir... On est désigné par les États-Unis comme une menace hors commun extraordinaire, là, pour les Américains. On est désigné de même. C'est nouveau, ça, pour moi aussi. Ça m'inquiète, hein, parce que j'ai été né aux États-Unis après 1776, puis je ne soutiens pas Trump, pas du tout. Je ne suis pas un républicain, pas du tout. Je suis un centriste, républicain-démocrate. Mais bien sûr, ça m'inquiète parce que je connais la psyché un peu de ceux qui l'ont voté, puis de ce nouveau républicanisme. Vous comprenez? Donc, je ne vais pas rentrer trop dans cette thèse, mais il va falloir que j'en discute dans les jours, semaines, mois à venir, que l'agression en masse, tenez-vous compte que les États-Unis, c'est une population de 340 millions. Il y a toujours certaines tensions qui existent. Fait que cette agression, cette violence, il faut qu'elle soit toujours dirigée à l'externe par la politique des États-Unis. À l'extérieur, pour pas que ça soit à l'intérieur, pour pas qu'il y ait une guerre civile interne. Cette agression de masse, on parle de millions de citoyens et citoyennes, qu'il faut que ça soit toujours externalisé aussi, à l'externe. Vous comprenez? Je ne veux pas rentrer dans cette dimension maintenant, mais c'est ça qu'il faut quelque chose qu'on comprend aussi. C'est toujours extériorisé vers l'externe. Ça m'inquiète pour votre sécurité aussi. En tant que vous êtes ma famille, mais les États-Unis sont ma famille aussi. Fait que c'est pour ça que ma manière de se marier, c'est mieux. Cette fusion avec les États-Unis, c'est ma manière. C'est sûr que Donald Trump, Jean-Pierre, a fait une erreur. C'est pas de cette manière qu'il faut qu'il nous invite, même si il nous invite d'un paradoxe avec des tarifs. C'est pas la manière qu'on soit devenu un 51e État. Puis ça sera pas 51 parce qu'on est 13 par un providence comme les 13 originaux. Les 13 États originaux des États-Unis qui ont déclaré l'indépendance de l'Empire britannique. Puis là, vous savez que moi, je ne suis pas en accord là, avec... Tu sais, qui a prêté allégeance? Notre premier ministre, Carney, a prêté allégeance au roi Charles. Au roi Charles. Au roi Charles. Et ses héritiers. Ça, on aurait dû enlever ça depuis longtemps au Canada. Depuis au moins 2010. Sinon, plus tard 2015, 2005. Puis l'année 2000, là, au 21e siècle, là, prêter allégeance au roi Charles et ses héritiers au 21e siècle. Là. Ça, on aurait dû finir ça puis établir une république. Là. Ça fait longtemps. Là. Ça fait au moins depuis le début du 20e siècle là, qu'on aurait dû le faire. Vous êtes en accord, là? Peut-être bien qu'ils sont en accord. À qui a prêté allégeance notre premier ministre, notre chef d'État fédéral? Au roi Charles et les héritiers, le roi Charles, vous comprenez? C'est pas aux héritiers, puis au roi Charles, le roi est absent, c'est aux Québécois, puis Québécoises, puis les Canadiens, puis les travailleurs qui existent ici, puis tous ceux qui viennent nous rejoindre, au peuple, puis la Constitution. Puis on le fera de manière qu'on va faire la fusion de cette nouvelle Constitution ensemble. Fait que là, je vous discute la TRD, parce que c'est la solution pour d'où qu'on vit maintenant, la manière qu'on se fusionne de la République impériale qui viendra de la fusion du Canada et des États-Unis, la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. C'est la solution parce que puis ça, il faut qu'on l'implémente binational. Encore une fois, ça m'inquiète qu'on soit désigné. Hein? C'est nouveau pour moi aussi. Ça, je ne m'attendais pas. Je m'attendais qu'il y ait une troisième guerre mondiale, puis une conférence internationale, mais je ne m'attendais pas qu'on soit rendu désigné, là, le Canada. Une menace extraordinaire et hors commun. Hors commun extraordinaire. Le Canada, on est désigné depuis une semaine, là, depuis le 1er août, une menace hors commun et extraordinaire pour le peuple américain. Puis que les pilules de fentanyl qui ont passé la frontière du Canada vers les États-Unis auraient pu tuer 16 millions d'Américains. C'est la déclaration officielle que vous pouvez voir sur la Maison-Blanche. Ce ne sont pas mes paroles. On est en danger. Là. Il faut que vous preniez ça sérieusement. Là. C'est sérieux, méchant. Fait que ma TRD, il faut qu'on l'implémente, c'est sérieux aussi. on va prendre, fait que je vous discute de la TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. La TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Je vous l'explique maintenant le plus simplement possible, que ça soit bien sûr dans la pointe de convergence pour qu'on soit bien sûr aujourd'hui, bien sûr, sur la montagne ensemble. Puis c'est pour notre collectif, de la sécurité du collectif de l'Amérique du Nord pour l'individu souverain. Même moi, avec cette différence, je suis bon dans la géopolitique. Fait que c'est un paradoxe avec toutes mes souffrances, le manque d'emploi, la dépression que j'ai vécue. Qu'est-ce qui m'a fait sortir de ma dépression? C'est quand j'ai traversé le Canada de côte à côte en 2017. C'est ça que ça m'a fait tout complètement changer ma vie. C'est là que j'ai établi un esprit de corps solide avec le Québec, le Canada, les États-Unis, le collectif nord-américain. Puis j'ai eu un réveil. Pendant un couple d'années avant ça, j'étais en dépression. Puis moi-même, ma vie avant printemps 2014, ça reste un mystère. Ma vie avant printemps 2014, bien, ça reste un mystère un peu. Ma vie avant 2014, ça reste un mystère un peu. Fait que je suis joyeux, jovial, je suis en stress financier, puis ça m'inquiète un peu, puis il faut qu'on règle ça. Toute notre vie, il faut qu'on se base pour régler ce problème avec les États-Unis. C'est notre intérêt principal. N'importe qu'est-ce qui, à travers le monde, qu'est-ce qui se passe en première place d'intérêt, d'importance, si on met une hiérarchie, c'est nous envers eux, puis eux autres envers nous. C'est pour ça la TRD, il faut faire l'implémentation. La théorie de la refusion de la dette. TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. TRD, théorie de la refusion de la dette. Fait que maintenant, il y a 4 problèmes qui nous pressent, qui nous touchent. Pas juste le Québec, le Québécois, le Canadien, mais les États-Unis aussi. Ces 4 problèmes-là se tournent autour de ces 4 problèmes, soit dans quelle heure que vous les mettez, le coût de la vie augmente, les coûts du loyer, les coûts de qu'est-ce qu'on achète au quotidien, le pain, le beurre, toutes ces choses-là, ça augmente, vous comprenez? Fait que le coût du pain, du beurre, ça augmente. Le coût du pain, du beurre, ça augmente, bien sûr. Fait que toutes ces choses-là, le pain, le beurre, les œufs, ces choses-là, ils augmentent. Le coût du pain, le coût du beurre, le coût de la vie, généralement, le coût des loyers, ça augmente. Les loyers augmentent, les prix augmentent, généralement, même mes gaufres. La stagnation des salaires et les cartes de crédit. Moi, j'ai pas de carte de crédit moi-même, j'ai une ligne de crédit, je suis en dette de 10 000 $. Fait que ces 4 problèmes-là, de quelle manière qu'on les met? Soit bien sûr en première place, ça dépend d'individu à individu. Fait que, on peut dire que la stagnation des salaires, l'augmentation du coût de la vie, les prix de tous les biens qui augmentent à tous les jours, à chaque semaine, soit pour le beurre, les œufs, le pain et les produits laitiers, bien sûr aussi, le porc, le bœuf, les viandes. Et bien sûr, avec ça, il y a aussi bien sûr le surendettement des cartes de crédit. Et bien sûr, avec ça, il y a aussi le coût de loyer. Sur les coûts de loyer qui augmentent, le coût de la vie, des prix des produits alimentaires qui augmentent, la stagnation des salaires et le surendettement des cartes de crédit. La TRD, c'est la solution. Puis il faut qu'on fasse l'implémentation, le Canada et les États-Unis ensemble, parce que aux États-Unis, c'est quand même le même problème qui se manifeste pour eux autres et puis pour nous. C'est la majorité des États-Unis, les Américains, nos frères et sœurs, cousins, cousines, l'autre bord, dans les 50 États, ils souffrent de la même problème, la grosse partie, en grosse majorité. Fait que la TRD, c'est la théorie à refusion de la dette. La TRD, ça contient la théorie d'intégration monétaire, ce qui est la théorie que les Européens ils ont fait l'implémentation dans les années 90. Les Allemands, les Italiens, les Français, les Belges, ils ont détruit leur banque centrale dans les années 90, puis ont établi une banque commune, une banque centrale commune. La ECB, la Banque centrale commune, ils ont établi ensemble la Banque centrale commune. Okay? Cette Banque centrale commune qu'ils ont établi, la Banque centrale commune, ils ont établi cette banque-là. Okay? Cette banque-là, c'est une banque multinationale, la Banque centrale commune. C'est une banque centrale commune qui ont établi une monnaie d'échange commune qu'ils ont. Ils ont plus de monnaie nationale, la Deutschland, en Allemagne, la Deutschmark, les Français, la Lira, les autres pays, l'Italie, la France, bien d'autres pays se sont mis ensemble pour la création d'une nouvelle monnaie. Fait que nous, on va faire la création d'une nouvelle monnaie ici, au Canada, au Québec, aux États-Unis avec les États-Unis. Fait que la TRD, dans la théorie de la refusion de la dette, ça intègre cette théorie que les Européens ont fait de l'implémentation. Fait qu'on va prendre toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000. Fait que toute la dette publique-privée, mon 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000, toute cette dette-là, mon 10 000, ton 10 000, son 10 000. Toute la dette publique-privée, on va en mettre ensemble. Toute la dette publique-privée, on va la mettre ensemble. De côte à côte, on va faire la conversion dans la devise des États-Unis. Dans la devise des États-Unis. Toute la dette publique-privée dans la devise des États-Unis. On va mettre bien sûr ensemble toute la dette publique-privée. On va faire l'addition avec la dette des États-Unis. Et ça, ensemble, ça va faire la création, la fondation pour une nouvelle banque centrale impériale des États-Unis et du Canada ensemble, comment on la nomme, la Banque impériale républicaine, pour mettre en marché une nouvelle monnaie qui va s'appeler UE. U point unité, point change, point universel. UE, on ne s'ostinera pas car en anglais c'est la même chose. UE, qui aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. Dollar américain, on va mettre un taux d'intérêt de 10% maximum. On va faire la création de U point unité, point change, point universel. L'unité d'échange universelle aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. U point unité, point change, point universel. L'unité d'échange universelle aura la valeur du dollar des États-Unis. unité d'échange universelle, on va mettre un taux d'intérêt de 10%. Avec ça, on va faire finir avec la frontière. On va bien sûr bâtir plus de centrales de l'Hydro-Québec. On va bâtir les 44 villages souterrains avec les tunnels complexes dans le cadre d'une guerre thermonucléaire. On va financer le tourisme. On va faire un grand recensement à travers les 63 qu'on va fusionner, les 10, les 3 et les 50. On va faire la création de 2 institutions de partenariat public-privé, soit l'armée impériale, Légion impériale pour la sécurité, service défense, intégrée avec tous les services de sécurité qui existent, soit l'armée du dragon, l'armée de la Ligue de danse impériale, bien sûr pour la sécurité, l'environnement, et bien sûr pour ce bien sûr qu'on va faire. Et bien sûr, dans ce point de compromis, on va faire bien sûr bâtir plus de centrales Hydro-Québec, rebâtir l'infrastructure du Québec, du Canada, des États-Unis, dans ce grand collectif de civilisation qu'on va fusionner, bâtir le plus grand complexe sportif sur la frontière du Canada des États-Unis pour avoir du sportisme in perpetuity. C'est Donald Trump et moi, on va se boxer dans un combat de boxe. Dans un combat de boxe, on va se fusionner, puis on va faire de la boxe ensemble, puis sur la frontière du Canada et des États-Unis. Fait que bien sûr, on va faire ce compromis ensemble, prêter allégeance les gens, vous êtes famille, on va faire la création, mener la unité d'échange universelle. On va faire bien sûr beaucoup de biens communs pour la continuité du collectif de civilisation de l'Amérique du Nord. On va bien bâtir, construire ensemble, faire la défense de côte à côte. On va bâtir plus de centrales Hydro-Québec, rebâtir l'infrastructure, les ponts de notre futur empire républicain démocrate. On va fusionner de la manière constitutionnelle impériale. On va signer de nouveaux accords de constitution impériale. On va fusionner une nouvelle constitution avec les États-Unis ensemble. On va finir avec la frontière. Puis on va faire un grand recensement. On va mettre en fonction un nouveau passeport. On va représenter bien sûr nos représentations pour bien sûr fonder les 2 institutions de partenariat public-privé, soit l'armée du dragon, officiellement bien sûr la Légion impériale pour la sécurité, service et défense. On va fusionner la GRC et le bureau d'enquête pour une nouvelle police pour l'Empire, pour la sécurité de police fédérale impériale vis-à-vis avec les services de police municipalité puis de provinciale. Ça va être à ces 3 niveaux. Puis on va faire construire les 4 ministères, prêter allégeance les gens, vous êtes famille. Maintenant, on s'en va vers les cadences. Je vous encourage à l'entraînement physique puis à la danse. Et voilà, let's go, get ready for that cadence. Bid you allegiance, our family, let's rock and roll. We're going to my headquarters now. Is where we will to build, where I will to be buried right here at the back of the Belvedere Cognac. A third of me here, a third of me with Papa Crowley, a third of me Hampton, New Jersey, a third of me right at the back of the Belvedere Cognac, where we're gonna build the Forgotten Goddess Temple and the pyramid, scarlet, crimson, red, House of the Dragon. Bury me, send a third of me to the city of the pyramids in Cairo. That's what we're gonna do, and that's what we gotta rock and roll with that, and that's what we're gonna get on that drill, get ready for that cadence. Rock and roll so that you can see, rock and roll so that you can be, rock and roll so that you can gotta get it, and gotta see it, and gotta do it, On rock and roll so that you live it. On rock and roll so that you be it. Pledge your allegiance, legions. Dragon Army cadence. We're going to go back to my headquarters. This is only strictly for my allies and armies. I'm the Dragon Army. Use only if you're an ally and army. For the Empire. The 10, the 50, and the 3. Perpetual Imperial Republican Union, let it be. Rainbow Dragon, aka greatest cuckold in the universe. Priestess of the goddess, full moon coming tomorrow, so gotta get a lot of cleaning on the Monday and work, and arbeit, and cadence. Get ready on 4. H is the snap word and snap count on 4. H. Rock and roll, you know we go. We're the Dragon Army, let it know. From the mountain, on the forest of the top, mountain of the hawk. Marching cadence for our brothers and our sisters. Some of our dragons are black. Some of our dragons are white. Some of our dragons are rainbow. Some of I'll let you know. Gotta be, gotta see. So that you gotta be. Gotta see and gotta do. I see you and I see me. Rainbow dragon gotta be. Gotta left and right, you see. For the truckers and the butchers and the bakers, electricians. Dragon Army cadence. That is our beloved sentence. Dragon Army cadence. That is our beloved sentence. How fast is that plane going? I'm not sure how altitude. Gotta calculate a little bit of that Aspie brain. Estimations know that it's going north, east. Gotta get that moon. The moon and the sun gotta be the one. Dragon Army, here we go. From the mountain to the rocks and the valleys, that's what's up. Gotta sing for the butchers, for the bakers, for the nurses and the truckers. Hey, for the train conductors, gotta see. Gotta left and right, we gotta be. And you know we not some demons. We're some dragons, gotta see us. Hey, you know we're not some demons. Gotta be in dragon demons. Hey, for the armies that you be. That's the moon you gotta see. For the armies that you be. That's the moon that gotta be. For the army that you see. Hey, you know we rock and roll. For the truckers on the road. Bakers, nurses, butchers, bakers. That you gotta see with us. You know we gotta click. Left and right, ready to sing. Singing, dance and kiss. Some of our dragons are white. Some of our dragons are black. Some of our dragons are rainbow. Gotta be that you know. Gotta be that you're slow. Hey, we gotta get some water because we're gonna be on the go. Gonna refill the bottle. Gonna get a little bit to that rock and roll. You know we gotta be on that. Getting on that left, on that right. Beautiful. And when we gotta get it on that, and you know we gotta get it for the open, for the left, for the right, for the truckers, the bakers, the nurses, the plumbers, the electricians, the construction workers, those daycare workers changing some diapers, the firefighters, LOV to the firefighters. We're gonna get it on that love, and here's some water, gonna hydrate and HYDRAT a bit. That's where we're gonna go. Let's go. Just saw a hawk. Just saw the hawk, 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 hawk. Is that a hawk? No, that's an owl. It's not a hawk, it's an owl. Owl, what a beautiful owl. Gotta get it so you see. Left and right in harmony. Gotta cross on left and do. So you know that I see you. Owl. Let's go. Cadence, cadence, cadence. Draconis cadence, rock and roll for the firefighters, plumbers, butchers, bakers, electricians, all those involved in the production, distribution of food. You know how it is. We gotta rock and roll 24/7. Gotta get a little bit of that loving and cross it into the zone and go into the darkness from the light. Special cadence, rock and roll freestyle, full moon, pre-full moon. It's not a full moon yet. Tomorrow the first 3 days start, and that's until Sunday, Tuesday, I guess. Tuesday is gonna be the last end of the full moon, and that's just what we're gonna do. And we're gonna get on that rock and roll, you know. Always rock and roll for the plumbers, butchers, bakers, nurses, and electricians, and all those, of course, who are involved in the production, distribution of food. And that's just how we gotta drill it here, you know. Gonna get it on the go, and that's how we're gonna drill it, you know. So let's go on that, and that's how we gotta get that rock and roll, you know, to getting now to live it and to make it go, man, you know. That's how we're gonna get. Look at this beautiful, beautiful X and beautiful right and beautiful Zs and beautiful artists who planted these, you know. That's how we got, and that's how we gotta get that doom, man, you know. And from the back there where we come, you saw, look at these. This is really beautiful here. Look at that. Isn't this just gorgeous? The plateau, how it grew here in the night, you know. It grew a lot, and that's how we gotta get doing on that. And we got some people here, and you got some of those beautiful dares, and that's how we gotta get doing like that. And we gotta get doing on the go, you know. So it's something which we have to get doing, and with that, and gotta get doing on that loving on the side, you know. They're doing a little bit of that rock and roll side of things, and you can hear it from over here, you know. Così forse. Forse. That's what it is. Draconis cadence. Oh, forced. That's what it is, and that's what we got, you know. Something which we got, and something which we split, you know, and that's what we got, you know. Here we got for the left and for the right. There we go. That's what we got, and that's what we do, you know, to get it on that XYZ, you know, to get it on the go, you know, to get it on that rock and roll, you know, to get it on that drill, you know. That's what, just what we got. In the darkness, what we got. Back to the headquarters, you know. Some things which we got to get it now, and that's something which we have to do, you know. It's something which we got to get drilling on that, and we have to get on the regulations. We have to get those cadences. Let's go. In the dark we see the light. Dragon Army, we are family tight. Pledge your allegiance, legions. That's the Dragon Army cadence. That's what you do, and that's what you got. Dragon Army, taking clock. Gotta be and gotta see. Left or right in harmony. Left or right in harmony. That's why we be. Dragon Army, so you see. Dragon Army, so you see. For the left, for the right. In the side, for in the truckers. Got a choo-choo train conductors. Got that cadence for the lovers. Got that cadence for the lovers. And the truckers and the bakers and the plumbers, electricians. Dragon Army B, so that you see. Got a marching cadence for that SSD, for that SSD. Security, service, and defense. Security, service, and defense. Security, service, and defense. Security, service, and defense. Gotta be that you see. For the me and for the you. That you be and I see you. In the darkness, see the light. Got the 63. What do we got? The 63. What do we got? The 63. What do we got? What do we got? The 63. We cannot be bribed. We cannot be bought. We gotta be paid, cause that is fair on the clock. We cannot be bribed, we cannot be bought. We cannot be bribed, we cannot be bought. Gotta be fair on the clock. So you see there what we got. Hey, we gotta see. Dragon army that you be. On the march and in steel toes. Hey, you know we rock and roll. For the Alabama, we got that A, Alaska and Arkansas. And we got that A that's in Alberta. We got that B, British Columbia. We got that C, that Colorado. We got that D, that Delaware. We ain't got no E. We got some F, we got some W, we got some letters, mix them up. Give me some Y. You got that Yukon with the Y. You got that and I got Nebraska. You got that North and South Dakota. Give me some of that T. You spell it out, that T for Tennessee and Texas. For Tennessee and Texas. Got that L, got Louisiana. And got that G, that Georgia. Got that O, got that Ohio. Next to it, you got Ontario. We got that Q, we got Quebec. We got that French, that Belle Province. We got that Q, we got Quebec, also known as la Belle Province. We got that Q, we in Quebec. You got that Q, that Belle Province. We got some butchers and construction workers. For the empire, that's our cadence. And that is our beloved sentence. So you know we gotta be on the left and right, you see. On the left and right we be. And another harmony that you see the moon we got. Get it with a spoon we clock. Hey, we got that. We got that H, we got Hawaii. Hey, we got the 63, we flying. Hey, we going east and west. You know we got some brothers and sisters in the uniform. We got some firefighters and some truckers. Got some nurses and some plumbers. Got some fast food workers flipping burgers. Hey, salute them and that cadence for it. Hey, train conductors. Those buzzing the minimum wage. That you know we feel the rage. So you know we see the bee in the darkness that you see. It's only me and we the dragon army. From the forest in the dark, we see the moon, we see some stars. On the mountains and the river, got some rivers and some valleys. Got some rivers and some valleys. Hey, got some trucking tallies. Hey, we got some bacon, bake some eggs with it. Got some lovers, got some youth. Gotta get them so you look. And you know we got that left. And you know we got that right. In the circle, dragon tights. We're not some demons, we are dragons. We ain't no demons, we are dragons. Ain't nobody born a dragon. Ain't nobody born a dragon. That's the motto of the dragon army. Some of my dragons be homos, just not loving me. Love our homos, love our lesbians. I will none of for cadence. If you cannot kiss a dick or clit, you cannot defend dragon army, and that's some bullshit. You gotta get it for the scars. Hey, you gotta be ready to defend the empire. Buy some fire, buy some fire, buy some fire, buy some fire. Gotta be ready to defend the empire. For the 63 we be. All our brothers and sisters play that harmony. Yes, dragons are dragons and black and white and rainbow. Hey, better be loving, hey, somebody kissing, making melodies. We march in cadence, Montreal to San Francisco. Train conductors, hit them go. Construction workers up those cranes. We gotta feel and feel their pain. Nurses, doctors, and the plumbers. Sanitation workers picking garbage. Sanitation workers picking garbage. Those the recycling. We gotta get it clapping, hey. Sing that cadence every day. Some push-ups, marching steps, you with it. Got some loving and some butching. Got some cadence, got some cadence, got some loving, got some doing. Got it in and got it out. And you know what we're about. Hey, got some cadence, got some left. That's the army said it best. And you know, just ready, boo. I just wanna see the you. Hey, you know we gotta be left or right in harmony. Watching steps as you go. On the plumbers and the plumbing gotta go. Do some push-ups, hug a hoe. Do some push-ups, hug a hoe. Do some push-ups, hug a hoe. Priestess of the empire kisses. We got the priestess of the empire kisses. God bless and goddess kiss. Ain't no God where God and dragons gotta be. We secured our love and liberty. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean. For the empire spitting fire. For our empire we spit fire. Hey, Dragon Zero, who am I? General Greatest Cuckold. I am General Dragon Zero. When I'm General Dragon Zero, take all orders, gotta be obeyed. But also aka Greatest Cuck C-U-C-K in the universe. Hey, hey, hey. For the free, the brave, the loving. For the free, the brave, the loving. And the just. For the free, the brave, the strong, the loving, and the just. Gotta keep it, gotta must. For the free, the brave, the loving, and the just. Gotta be, they gotta must. For the free, the brave, the loving, and the just. Gotta be, that the lust. For the free, the brave, the loving, and the just. For the free, for the brave, the loving, and the just. We are the empire of the free, of the brave, of the strong, and of the loving, and the just. We are the empire of the dragons, of the 63, of the free, the brave, the strong, the loving, and the just. We got some suffering in our lungs. It ain't easy for the free. We cannot be bribed. Cannot be bribed, cannot be bought. Bring it, Dragon's Army, what you got? We cannot be bribed, we cannot be bought. Gotta be paid, and that's a lot. Cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. We cannot be bought, we cannot be bribed. This blood in, blood out for life. Dragon Army that we got. We blood in, blood out for life. Dragon Army, what we got? Blood in, blood out for life. Dragon Army, what we got? Blood in, blood out for life. Dragon Army, what we got? For the Empire, for the Empire. And that is that our new structures. Gotta be brave and loving. For the strong, the brave, the free. Gotta see in liberty. For the brave, the strong, the free. Gotta be in liberty. For the brave. For the strong, the free. And for the brave, the free, the strong. And the loving and the just. That is our cadence, is our song. For the brave, the free, the strong. For the strong, the free, the brave, the free, the just. It's okay, me too, I lust. From the darkness and the lights. Gotta give the army lights. From the light in, from the darkness into the light. From the light into the darkness. Gotta get it for the cadence. Dragon Army, that's our sentence. For the brave, the free, the strong, the loving. Gotta give it for the song. Singing, that's the cadence on. Hey, you know we gotta be Dragon Army in harmony. Left and right and black and white. Gotta give it army tight. For the brave, the strong, the loving. From the mountain to the rivers and the seas in San Francisco, California, that LA, from the New York that we see, all the way to the Midwest, you gotta see, we gotta be Alabama all the way, Wyoming that you be, Quebec, that Nova Scotia. We got some Saskatchewan and Manitoba, gotta go down to Virginia. Gotta go to Mississippi and Massachusetts, too many S's. Gotta sing it, that's my cadence. Where there's a light, there's shadow, bring it. For the lovers, gotta be left and right in harmony. Singing, talking that you see. Coming, that's you, me, and you see.